introduce you to today's info session in a more content-wise than I did. Vera, great to have you with us. Please, the floor is yours, and I will of course also start the presentation.
Yeah, thank you, Boet. And I see your hidden talent as an energy booster that is coming out very clearly this morning. It is my great pleasure to welcome all of you. It's really a milestone to be able to present to you the NEB Facility Horizon Europe Work Program 2025. We have seen that over 1,000 people have registered, which is really something that amazed us very much. We're also very happy that there are so many people who are interested in the European Bauhaus and in the call that we will present in a moment, the different topics that we have set up for you. If we go a bit more into detail in the agenda, and Boet has already mentioned it, we will present first the NEB in general, and then we will go through all the different destinations. That's what the colleagues will present, and at the end we will have some closing remarks. I hope that everybody had the time to watch our pre-recorded sessions where we presented already the topics. So I hope that people have managed to do the homework, because today's session is really meant to go into your questions. If you have not done so already, go and have a look on our website. Everything is there, so you can also get yourself already familiarized with our pre-recorded sessions that introduce each of the topics in the different destinations of the European Bauhaus. If you go to the next slide, Boet. Yeah, I'll give you a quick introduction of the European Bauhaus in general. It is an initiative that has started about 4.5 years ago to translate the European Green Deal into tangible change on the ground and therefore improving citizens' daily life. The question that we asked at the time was, how would you like to live together after the pandemic, which was still happening at the time? And we try to shape together with all of you new practices in implementing the 3 values of beauty, sustainability, and togetherness or inclusion. In order to shape the green transition with all of you, with all the citizens in Europe together. So far, the European Bauhaus has 4 different work strands. We work on funding, that's what we will present today, but we also work on standards, principles, giving guidelines. For example, we worked with the European Investment Bank on investment guidelines for investors. We have a large European Bauhaus community. If you're not a member yet, please join our community. We have currently over 1,400 members that we work with closely, that we co-develop our different initiatives with. And then we communicate very extensively, and Boet has already said it, we have a bi-yearly festival that takes place. The next edition is in 2026. But we also have a European Bauhaus Prize. If you're not familiar yet with all the different strands, please check them out on our website. But today is mainly about our Horizon Europe funding part. If you go to the next slide, yes, this Horizon Europe work program is part of our facility roadmap. I just said that the European Bauhaus is 4.5 years old. The European Bauhaus was introduced right after the previous or the current multi-annual financial framework. That means that we did not have a dedicated program. We worked with 9 different programs from the different parts of the European Commission so far. It meant that we had to come up with a new work program every year. Our initiative has always been very wide. If I just said our living environment, it means that we worked on the built environment, but also on products, on education programs. And throughout the years, we realized that that was very broad and we wanted to focus more and we wanted to have a more longer term plan. This is why we developed our facility roadmap to improve sustainable, beautiful, inclusive neighborhoods for the future. This is our 3-year program. And you can find on our website the facility roadmap that was published on the 25th of March that explains this 3-year program focusing on neighborhoods. The roadmap has 3 objectives. The first objective is transforming places with communities, trying to find innovative solutions that address environmental and climate challenges, affordable housing, while reducing socioeconomic challenges and making the most with art and creative industries. It's really about empowering local communities through engagement. That's the first objective, general objective that we have. Then the second one is about supporting innovation. It aims to foster a sustainable, circular and regenerative European construction ecosystem that is also affordable, resilient and promotes health and well-being. Here you can think, for example, about innovation in products, methods, materials in the construction sector. And then the third objective that we have with the roadmap is to enable change, fostering the conditions that are needed to promote sustainable European Bauhaus practices. And here you can think, for example, about new business and funding models. So the roadmap is built up into a research component, research and innovation component that develops new solutions. It has a funding of approximately 120 million per year. So that's what we will present today, the funding for 2025. And it has a rollout component where we implement and scale up European Bauhaus solutions. And for this, you can follow again our website because we have additional funding possibilities to implement the European Bauhaus with mixed funding sources, both centrally but also in shared management. Also with at least a similar level of ambition to spend at least 120 million per year on this. And of course, we work very closely with our community. We keep communicating. We have a lot of the tools available. One of them I already mentioned, the EIB investment guidelines, but we have many more, for example, tools for municipalities on how to work on European Bauhaus projects. And we have a horizontal strand where we try to integrate European Bauhaus also internationally. I saw in the beginning that there was already interest from Ukraine. We are having now presence in the Osaka World Expo. So we're trying to build also our international network through for the European Bauhaus. Okay. I hope that I explained enough about the facility in general. Now we gradually go into the different destinations. I have to give you one word of caution. We have seen in our pre-program the destination NEB last year. It was our part in the Horizon Europe Work Program 2023-2024 that European Bauhaus calls are very competitive. And I show it to you just so that you are aware. You have seen that I just said that we have 1,000 people who joined this session. I give you here the figures of the success rate of the amount of people who have applied versus the amount of proposals that received funding. It means that only proposals that are of the highest quality also have a chance of being funded. I just want to have it said so that everybody is aware of this. But at the same time, we're super happy that you join us. We're also very grateful for all the people who take the effort, the time to dive into the European Bauhaus, and we hope again that we will receive great proposals. Okay, Burut, if you go to the next slide, then this is my last 4 points for today, and then I'm going to give the floor to Elisa. If you go one slide further, yes, okay. I'll give you a bit of a general overview of our R&I component. So all the topics that we will present now are in the dedicated part of the Horizon Europe Work Program. It's the dedicated NEB section. It's Annex 13. If you haven't seen it yet, go and have a look. It's on the website. What we try to do while building this program for 2025 is to make the topics as accessible as possible. We had a broad consultation round last year. We visited almost every member state. We had in every member state sessions with stakeholders and asked them not only what the different topics should look like, but also what is most important for everybody. And people mostly said, try to make the threshold lower so that we also are capable of participating in your Horizon Europe work program, being a non-usual player, being, for example, an SME or somebody from the creative sector. So what we try to do is make our topics as accessible as possible through clear and concise language, with having a glossary in there, so you can see also what we mean with the different terms that we use, but also with the financial setup that we aim for. And there the colleagues can tell you a bit more in a moment. What we also try to do is ingrain the European Bauhaus thinking in the design of the topics. I already explained to you the 3 values of the European Bauhaus, but we also work with 3 working principles. We always aim in the European Bauhaus to work in a transdisciplinary way, which means that we try to connect knowledge of experts with knowledge from citizens. We encourage a participatory approach, so also to work every time with citizens at the center. You will see in the way that the topics are drafted that it has this European Bauhaus thinking ingrained in it. And then lastly, you will see in the different topics a requirement to engage with the NEB Hub for results and impact. We started in the NEB destination an initiative to collect all the information through a separate topic, a call, to collect all the different information of European Bauhaus projects, so that we could have a common knowledge base and a collective learning approach to feed into also other European Bauhaus projects. So the grant agreement for this project has just been signed, and you will see in the coming months and year to come that we will start collecting this information. So that should be the knowledge management platform for the European Bauhaus facility in general, and also for the different European Bauhaus projects that are ongoing. I think I talked already for quite some time. Thank you very much from my side, again, in your interest, your engagement, and now we dive into destination 1 of the facility. Yes.
Thank you very much, Vera. Yeah, we go straight to the destination 1, but just before, I have a couple of technical questions that I've seen on Slido. One of them being, will the presentation be available, and are we recording this? And the answer to both of the question is affirmative. We will publish everything. Also, in case we ran out of time to answer some of the questions that we are receiving on Slido, we will also publish all the answers to all the questions that we received during this session, together with the recording and the presentation. But enough about me. We have experts in the room, and the first one is Elisa, who will present you destination 1. And without further ado, the floor is yours, Elisa, please.
Thank you, Borut, and good morning, everyone. I'm really happy as well to be with you, finally presenting these topics for Work Program 25 for the NEB Facility part of the work program. Indeed, I'm going to focus on destination 1. So if we go to the next slide, basically I will present very quickly the concept of the destination and then go and provide you with an overview of all the topics. But as Vera was already explaining, today is not about presenting the topics in detail because we have dedicated pre-recorded videos for that. Today is to have an overview and then to focus on answering your questions for the time that we have. So on the destination 1, as you know, it connects the green transformation with social inclusion and local democracy. This destination places social fairness at the heart of the green transition in neighborhoods. So this means that for this destination, it is very important to understand neighborhoods, inhabitants, and how they experience their everyday lives, and also to give them the opportunity to influence the green transition in their neighborhoods. This means that this destination seeks to reinforce ownership and sense of belonging through more active, engaged, and inclusive communities towards a green transition in neighborhoods that is aligned with the new Bauhaus. This destination also pays particular attention to the inclusion of the different socio-demographic groups, and this includes vulnerable and marginalized groups, their needs, etc. And then also important, this destination builds upon cultural participation, cultural heritage, cultural and linguistic diversity, indigenous and marginalized forms of knowledge as enablers in all these processes. So in a nutshell, under this destination, we are looking at neighborhoods as physical spaces, as well as a people's relationship with these physical spaces. And also very important that we should not forget, this destination covers neighborhoods in urban, peri-urban, and rural areas. For Work Program 25, destination number 1 has 2 main aims, which is first, understanding how individual and collective mindsets and habits and behaviors can change into more sustainable and inclusive ones, and how to promote interconnections between diverse realities. And the second main aim is to further explore the transformative potential of participatory practices and governance models, and notably how culture, the arts and creative industry, as well as the socio-cultural work sector can contribute to a number of aspects in neighborhoods, such as enhancing transformation processes for the great transition, local democracy, sense of belonging, social inclusion, helping addressing vulnerability and social equity concerns, etc. As you can see in the slide, the destination foresees 4 topics in 2021, so this year, and they all have the same deadline, which is the 12th of November of this year. Now, if we look very quickly at each of the topics, topic number 1, so participation 01, which focuses on the impact of common space on neighborhood communities. This is a research and innovation action with an indicative budget of 10.5 million euros, which is expected to fund 3 projects. In terms of the legal and financial setup of the topic, it is a lump sum topic, which for those of you that are maybe a little less familiar with Horizon Europe, lump sum topics simplify the reporting requirements for projects during the implementation phase. Now, why this topic? Well, as you know, one of the 3 values of the new Bauhaus is inclusion, and common spaces can play an important role in inclusion, bringing, for instance, people together, facilitating social interactions, creating a sense of trust and community, etc., etc. So the idea of this topic is to focus on generating better knowledge on how common spaces, which can be new, redesigned, or redeveloped, affect social relations in neighborhoods. And something also important to highlight is that this topic uses the term common spaces, which comprises not only public spaces, but also semi-public or private places that are accessible by all. And you can find a definition for common spaces in the glossary that is part of the NEB Facility part of this work program. If we look at the second topic, participation 02, which is about fostering and maintaining the social fabric for the green transition in neighborhoods. So here we're also speaking about a research and innovation action with an indicative budget of 9 million euros, which is expected to fund 3 projects. This is also a lump sum topic. Why this topic? Well, there are 3 key elements in this topic, which are social connections, cultural participation, and civic engagement. Social connections and cultural participation are in general associated with well-being, and then evidence also shows that cultural participation is also associated with other positive features such as civic behavior, empathy, tolerance, security, and social cohesion. Therefore, the idea of this topic is to focus on better understanding the interplay, so the interlinks between cultural participation, social connections, and civic engagement, and how the resulting evidence can be used to maintain or strengthen the social fabric in neighborhoods, as well as to support their green transition, while at the same time addressing other challenges such as, I will give an example, loneliness. Now, topic number 3, participation 03, which is about beautiful, sustainable, and inclusive street furniture for the transformation of neighborhoods. This is an innovation action with an indicative budget of 10.4 million euros, which is expected to fund 2 projects. In terms of the legal and financial setup of this topic, it's a financial support to third parties, but I will speak about this in a moment. Now, the reasoning behind this topic. So street furniture has an impact on neighborhoods and their inhabitants at many different levels, such as, for instance, aspects related to the quality of experience of inhabitants, so accessibility, safety, and comfort of spaces. Then it's also connected to aspects relating to health and well-being, social-cultural aspects, such as, for instance, social interactions, sense of belonging, cultural identity, respect for common spaces, etc. And finally, can also, street furniture can also have an impact on local economies. So the idea of this topic is to focus on applying the new Bauhaus values to the development and demonstration of innovative designs for sets of street furniture that offer more attractive, sustainable, and inclusive design solutions for neighborhoods. I was mentioning that this is a topic that provides the option of financial support to third parties. So I'm going to explain what this is about, especially for those of you that are a bit less familiar with Horizon Europe. So financial support to third parties is an option and not a requirement of this topic. It is up to the applicants to decide whether they want to use this option or not. If they decide to use financial support to third parties, then the maximum amount to be granted to each third party is 100,000 euros to allow for the prototyping and demonstration of the innovative designs. However, there is not a minimum or a maximum percentage of the total project budget to be allocated to the financial support to third parties. In any case, those proposals that foresee the use of this financial support to third parties as part of their proposal, they need to justify it in the application and in the budget and include also the conditions on how they will ensure objective and transparent selection processes. For those that decide to use this option, financial support to third parties, it means that the project will have the possibility to launch calls and award grants to up to, as I was saying, 100,000 euros to actors outside of the consortium for this to contribute to the delivery of the project. And this call or calls to be launched by the project will need to be published in the funding and tenders portal as well. Now, the fourth topic, participation 04, is about a network of neighborhoods for innovative policies on gentrification. This is a coordination and support action with an indicative budget of 2.5 million euros, which is expected to fund 1 project only. And this is a lump sum topic. Now, actions actions or how to explain the reasoning behind this topic. So actions to regenerate neighborhoods may bring positive effects such as revitalization, sustainable economic growth, diversity, etc., and also increase the attractiveness of neighborhoods. But at the same time, these same actions may have negative consequences in neighborhoods that are more related to segregation, exclusion, displacement, socioeconomic inequalities, loss of cultural identity, etc. So the idea with this topic is to support informal networking among neighborhoods to exchange knowledge, build their capacities, as well as facilitate innovation in policymaking to mitigate the negative consequences of gentrification that may result from interventions aligned with the new Bauhaus. Also important, and that's the last thing I will say as part of this presentation, this topic also covers green gentrification, which may result from urban greening agendas and interventions. Also useful to know, and I will close with this, the definition of green gentrification is also included in the glossary. And I think that was it from my side. I think I'm going to hand it back to you, Barut, for the Q&A part. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Elisa, for a very succinct but still in-depth the explanation of the calls. And yeah, indeed, we have quite a number of questions already lined up. I would like to, as you see, while you are connected to Slido, right? And you can now also see the Slido on your shared screen. For those who joined us later on, the Slido is our main communication channel through which you can send us questions on each of the destinations and in general, the NEB facility under Horizon Europe work program. We will be focusing first in each of the 3 slots presenting destination 1, destination 2, and destination 3 on the questions that we received beforehand when we were collecting the interest to get a reminder about the session and just building up towards the session. So we will focus on those questions first, and then we will move to the questions that are being asked live through the Slido. So don't worry, I think we have more than enough time to touch on everything. But in between, while we are focusing on the questions that were asked before, we will also use the full screen, not to have the Slido there all the time. It's kind of fitting, I think, that we first focus on more general questions that we received, and one that was actually also part of the Slido, Christoph, and listening to also to Elisa, it kind of resonated. So what are these type of actions? Of course, Horizon Europe is a complicated program. Future applicants are expected to know, but just to kind of kickstart with it, I think it's a good first question. So what is the type of action RIA, EA, and CSA that some of them Elisa mentioned, please?
Good morning to you all. Right, there are basically 3 types of basic actions that you will find within the work program, so-called RIA, which are research and innovation actions. And we've got the innovation actions, and then we've got the coordination and support actions. Research and innovation actions are more about basic research, so they establish new knowledge or explore new and improved technologies, products, processes, services, or solutions. Then we've got innovation actions. They essentially in the development stage are a little bit further already. So they are about producing plans or designs for those new or improved products, processes, or services. And they tend to involve, therefore, as well, demonstration activities, testing, prototyping, piloting, large-scale product validation, and market replication. And then we've got these coordination and support actions. They are a rarer type of project. They basically are focusing on activities to support and contribute to the objectives more generally of the Horizon Europe program. The definitions you can also find in the documentation that are made available by Horizon Europe.
Thank you, Christoph. I think we broke the ice really well. And now I would like to focus on, so we received several questions about who can participate in the projects when it comes to the partners, entities, organizations outside of Europe. So we received specific questions for the countries from Latin America, but also asking about entities registered or active in New Zealand, USA. What are the basic rules that the people should follow here, Christoph?
Okay. So within the work program, you've got the topic description, and it's always worth having a close look at the topic description in terms of what the requirements are there. But attached to the work program, there are also a number of general annexes, which are equally important because they are talking about general aspects like admissibility, eligibility requirements. In terms of participation, if you look in Annex B of the work program, there we're talking about the eligibility requirements. And eligibility is how you can participate, but also who can participate. And so there are 3 big groups. We've got member states, EU member states who can participate. Then we've got countries which have an association agreement with Horizon Europe who can participate. And that list is developing because some countries are at different stages of being associated to the country. And so there are sometimes different agreements to what extent they can participate. So therefore, it's always worth having a close look at this one. And then we also have a number of so-called third countries who may or may not participate. So there's this big group of low and middle income countries, and there's a long list of countries which are counted as low and middle income countries who can participate in the program and receive funding. And then there are other countries who can participate within projects but who are not eligible to receive funding. And so if you want to find out about this, therefore, it's always important to have a close look at Annex B and the topic description, because sometimes within topics there can be specific conditions in addition, which are very specific to that particular topic.
Super, thank you. If we now zoom a bit more to still general questions, but more connected to the projects in general, we have a question on what types of target groups are recommended to be outreached by the project that will be financed or applied under the NEB facility. And then additional part of the question is how specific should they be in relation to age, study level, profession, industry sector. So yeah, how much of a detail the applicants, the future applicants, need to be in their application?
When you're preparing your proposal within the application form that you have to complete, so the core part of your proposal, you will find there a requirement to provide an outline of your plan for dissemination and exploitation, including your communication activities. And within this outline of your plan, you should, the expectation is normally that you would identify who are your target audiences, how you would reach them, so what are the key channels that you would be using and the tools, and also the kind of messages that you want to convey. And so within there, this outline, you then have to define who you want to reach and how, basically, and you should define what are these target groups. Now, in terms of how detailed you have to be, I think, first of all, it's important to note that this particular plan should be tailored to the specific project that you're proposing and towards the topic requirements, because there will be already very often that this particular focus be identified. And then the level of detail, I mean, the more detailed you can be, the better, but at the same time, you also recognize that there is a certain page limit in the applications. So there's a trade-off, but generally, I mean, describing your target group is not a difficult thing to do. It's also important to make clear to the evaluators why you may focus on those on a particular target group. So I think that is important to convey, because evaluators will look at this plan and also will evaluate it as part of the evaluation criteria.
Thank you. I think you already indicated where a lot of information that a few of the next questions are referring to can be found. But let's go one by one also with this one. So the next question I have is, what type of results, so tangible and intangible, are expected from the call, from the projects that will apply to different topics under this call?
So when we're talking about results, that could be documentation, that could be a particular solution, that could be a process, that could be even, in some cases, a software. So it could be quite wide-ranging what it is. So in order to understand what is the expectation, again, first of all, take a very close read of the particular topic text for which you are intending to put your proposal forward. Normally, within the topic text, it's already clear what kind of innovative solution the projects are expected to develop. Generally, even though there's a general description about the type of solution, there's then freedom for applicants to suggest the specific solution that they would want to develop. And so insofar, there, within the realms of the project, you do have some flexibility, and it's really therefore up to the project to decide what specifically they're suggesting based on the topic description. Beyond that, each topic also defines what are the expected outcomes. So in terms of short-term, medium-term impacts, essentially, of the project. Again, it's important to take a close look at those outcomes, because in terms of what you're doing and what you're aiming to achieve, these are two core aspects of the evaluation of each project.
Thank you. If we move towards the budget, I have a two-folded question. The first one more general, what type of budgetary costs are eligible in this call? And then the second one connected to the research and innovation actions. Do this type of projects allow for investment-related costs? So is it possible to have pilots?
Okay. In terms of costs, we've got, again, a general annex G of the work program, which defines the type of costs which are eligible. If you want to need to understand in more detail how those costs are defined, there's also reference to the model grant agreement for Horizon Europe, in which is later forming the contractual basis as well for successful projects. And there you will find more details about how these costs are defined. And then there's also a so-called annotated model grant agreement. Essentially, that's the grant agreement with some explanatory notes to explain in more detail how the various clauses of this grant agreement are to be interpreted, including as well the different cost categories. So all this, you can basically, it's worth having a look if you've got their very specific questions. Generally speaking, since we're talking here about Horizon Europe, which is a research program, the vast bulk of costs will be relating to personnel costs. So the program is essentially funding the time of the participants, or the researchers, etc., to implement the proposed action. And then we've got other costs like travel costs, and then we can also have in some cases some specific subcontracting costs, as well as what we call other goods and services. So these are generally costs which occur because they're required in order to implement your research or demonstration project. And so as part of the application, you will have to prepare a budget, and there you will have to explain what the costs are and why they're necessary. In terms of the specific question on investment-related costs, that's probably a terminology that we're not using in terms of investment. I think what may be meant by that is if you're doing a demonstrator, you may have to basically pay certain costs in order to allow you to do the demonstrator. So it might be monitoring equipment and things like this. And so again, these costs are in principle eligible. But again, they have to be explained why they are needed in order to implement the project. And then also when it comes to certain costs, there's specific requirements regarding, for example, goods and services, in particular goods, where you're not paying necessarily for the purchasing of those, but actually for the depreciation costs of particular equipment, for example. But again, depending on what it is, it's worth having a look at the specific details which are set out in the documents I mentioned.
Thank you. I extrapolate one general instruction for everybody thinking about applying the project. Definitely do use all the available materials from the program guide and everything else to kind of look for first understand the scope and then also look for answers. But just to also let you know now, and we will repeat at the end of the session as well, there are two support structures out there that help you when you are developing and preparing an application for a project. One are the national contact points under the Horizon Europe program. We have a specific configuration called NEB RNI National Contact Points. They are established in all EU member states and also associated countries and in some third countries, but you can always reach out to the NCP configurations for the support. And then the second support measure is so-called Research Inquiry Service, which is an online service that responds to the questions that you can send via emails. At the end of the session, we will also share the links, but if you search for them in any of the browsers or search engines online, you will find them very quickly. Going back to your questions, and now I would like to just bring Elisa in because we have a connected question linked to the research and innovation actions. And the question is, Elisa, is it correct to say that RIA's research and innovation actions refer to the NEB Facility RNI component, while innovation actions already tap in its rollout component? Or do all Horizon Europe calls fall under the RNI component? So maybe just additional line of clarification on how the facility works in relation to very concrete calls.
Yeah, thank you, Varun. So indeed, all the Horizon Europe calls that we are presenting, topics, not calls. We have one call with different topics underneath. So all the Horizon Europe topics that we are presenting today that are part of the NEB facility correspond to the RNI component. And as Christoph was explaining, in Horizon Europe, we have three types of actions: research and innovation actions, and coordination and support actions. All these are under Horizon Europe and therefore part of the RNI components. The rollout component is funded through other programs, and that's different topics, different calls, different timeline. So today's focus is RNI component topics for 2025 distributed in 3 destinations. Thank you.
Thank you, Elisa. Back to you, Christoph. You mentioned in the beginning who can participate also in terms of the classification of countries, so the program associated in third countries. But here is a more concrete question. Most topics require demonstration, piloting analysis in a member state or associated country. Does this mean that third countries cannot be the place of a demonstration? Is that the right logic of thinking?
So it's correct. Many topics they specifically have a requirement for a certain number of demonstrations or pilots to take place in member states or associated countries. And here the expectation is that proposals will fulfill that requirement. However, once you fulfill that minimum requirement, proposals are free to suggest or propose additional demonstrations, which then could take place in other countries, so outside member states or associated countries. Insofar, per se, other countries are not excluded as long as you fulfill the minimum requirements as defined by a particular topic.
All right, thank you. And the last 2 questions in the first general part, Christoph, is can you tell us a bit more about the evaluation process? So we already said that SINEA is our partner in implementing the NEB facility call and the topics underneath it. But then also connected to this, will the applications be evaluated according to how they comply, refer, contribute to the NEB values? And yeah, in that regard, some of the tips may be related to the evaluation process and how it is implemented.
Okay. Right. First, in terms of maybe the evaluation process in general, once the call deadline is closed, we will be working with external experts who will be evaluating the proposals. Each proposal is normally evaluated by at least 3, very often by 4 or 5 experts who are recruited for the specific exercise. On the basis of those evaluations, we will then develop a ranking list with the top scoring proposals then being proposed for funding. So that's the general process. Then in terms of the specific requirements on NEB values, now the whole program, the NEB facility work program, is designed around the NEB values. So in itself, it already reflects the NEB values within the topics for which you can apply. But in some instances, the topics make a very specific reference again to the NEB values. And in those instances, indeed, the evaluators will then look whether the applicant has fulfilled a very specific requirement that is being made. But it's not that for each topic and each proposal, we check whether it's generally relating to the NEB values. It's normally done only where there is a very specific reference to it, since the topic in itself already is a reflection of the NEB values. I think there was one other point which or have I answered everything?
I think no. I think
Okay.
you answered everything. Yeah, I went from a couple of angles on the evaluation process, and yeah, I think it's you presented it really well. Thanks, Christoph. So we give Christoph a few minutes to take a breath in between, and we will move more to the content questions where we will have Elisa coming in. And Lisa, the first question is linked also to the first topic under Destination 1. And the question goes like this: should the common space projects studied be already existing, or should we create these ourselves as a part of the project?
So yeah, this is for participation 01, so the impact of common space on neighborhood communities. The focus of this research and innovation action is the study of a range of existing common space projects. So the objective of the topic is not for consortia to design, implement, or redevelop common space projects.
All right, very clear. Second question relates to the street furniture design. So the third topic under the destination, and the question goes like this: a street furniture designer and manufacturer can be a partner beneficiary, or can they only participate to an open call as demonstration or demonstrative third party? Sorry for a bit of a blah blah.
No, I understand. So this is corresponding to the third topic on street furniture. So basically, both options are possible. A street furniture designer and manufacturer can be partner of the consortium, or if the project decides to use financial support to third parties and launch a call, it could be applying to the eventual call. So it is up to the applicant to decide what they prefer to do, as both options are possible.
And then linked to this, how much of the total budget of the project should be or could be attributed to third parties via these calls?
Well, this is a bit connected to what I was explaining during the presentation. Financial support to third parties under this topic is an option. It's not a requirement. So it is up to the applicants to decide whether they want to use this option or not. If they want to decide financial support to third parties, then the maximum amount to be granted to each third party is 100,000 euros to allow for the prototyping and demonstration of the innovative designs. However, the topic, if you go into the details of the topic, the description, there is not a minimum or a maximum percentage of the total budget of the project to be allocated to financial support to third parties. What is important to bear in mind is that those proposals that foresee the use of financial support to third parties need to justify this in the application and in their budget.
All right. When it comes to the outputs of the projects, can the projects provide recommendations not only to public administrations and other stakeholders, but also, for example, towards educational institutions, for example, to train a new generation of architects, designers, and similarly? So, how narrow or wide the topics are in this sense?
I think just to clarify this topic, sorry, this question refers to topic 1 or 2?
This one is to topic 1, to topic 1, yes.
Because there are both topics 1 and 2 that request recommendations. But in the case of the topic 1, the topic text says is based on the research evidence, then provide recommendations for public administrations and other stakeholders involved in the regeneration of common spaces in neighborhoods. That means that applicants can consider education stakeholders as part of the other relevant stakeholders and justify this in their application.
Very clear. And I have one more question here. So why do we use the term common spaces instead of public spaces?
Well, because common spaces is wider than public spaces. Common spaces include also semi-public or semi-private and private spaces that are accessible by all. But in any case, the glossary includes a definition of common spaces, which explains this in detail.
All right, we are going back to Slido. So give me a second to start sharing the screen again. And in between, we received a lot of questions. Just to explain to you, dear viewers. So we see all the questions, but we approve them according also to let's say Q&A flow. So we try to connect it logically, but do not worry, all the questions will come in, if not directly, that you will see it as approved. That the reason behind that is because we already answered it as a part of another question and answer. And before going back to Elisa, Christoph, a question for you. Is there a maximum number of partners for a consortium for NEB?
The answer is no. There is no maximum number of partners for consortium in any of the topics. So proposers are free to define and or propose the consortium members. Now, I think there's an important consideration, however. The number and the type of partners that you put forward should be closely linked to the project that you're proposing. So they have to make sense in order to allow you to essentially deliver what you're proposing. Therefore, designing the consortium is an important part of preparing your proposal, because you need to demonstrate that you've got the right partners within the consortium to allow you to complete the work. Then there's another aspect, the size of consortia. We sometimes see project proposals which have a large number of consortium members, again, which may be justified, but of course one should be aware that large consortia also requires significantly more effort in terms of coordinating partners during the implementation. So therefore, there's always a trade-off as well between having larger or consortia and getting more people involved versus the effort required to manage those. So therefore, size of consortia also is an aspect that should be carefully considered in the design of your project and proposal.
Okay, super clear. We go back to Elisa and question linked to the participation 03 topic. Specifically, are the 100,000 euros per partner of the as a part of a sub-project or per consortia? And I'm sorry, I accidentally removed the question from Slido.
Yeah, I was feeling a bit confused, but so if I recall well, no. So the question is this 100,000 per partner of the consortium. That was the question. No, the 100,000 euros is for entities outside of the consortium. So the proposal is submitted by a consortium. They have they discuss internally and make a proposal on how they will distribute the budget of the topic. Of their project, and then if they consider using financial support to third parties, and they need to explain that, and then they need to indicate how they will distribute that financial support to third parties, and when distributing it to third parties, it means outside of the consortium. So in short, this 100,000 euros is for entities outside of the consortium as part of the financial support to third parties. I hope to have made myself clear.
Yeah, I understood, but if there's anything unclear, please submit another question and we'll try again.
Yeah, sorry if it's sorry if it was
No, it was you did great, Elisa. I have the next question, the one that is also on the top of the Slido, and it goes like this. It's linked to the participation 04, so the fourth topic under the destination 1, and the question goes: do you expect the members of the proposed network, minimum 15 neighborhoods, to be already defined at the proposal stage, or is it possible to include a selection process as the initial phase of the project?
Here, I would see that both options are possible, but I would like to check also with Christoph how you understand this question and what do you think? Do you agree, Christoph?
Yes, indeed. Within the call text, there's a requirement to have a network which involves at least 50 neighborhoods. So in the proposal, we would, as a minimum, want to see what is your approach to recruit those neighborhoods, and I guess also what kind of neighborhoods you wanted to include. I think that would be the absolute minimum that we want to see. So that would be something to be explained as part of your methodology in order to give then the evaluators also the confidence that what you're aiming to develop is indeed a network that will have a certain outreach and how you actually would do that. So therefore, those neighborhoods would not necessarily have to be defined already at the proposal stage.
Thank you, Christoph. Lisa, would you like to add anything, or we move on?
I think for me it was clear with yeah.
Okay, we mark it as answered, and we go to the next one. So this one is for you, Elisa. Partners need to be included. Do the partners in the projects that apply to the topics need to be a part of the NEB network? I conclude that this means the also European Bauhaus community. So do they have to be a part of the network community already in terms of being members, or that they've already had the project financed through some of the previous funding opportunities?
No, that's not. You know, these topics are open to any eligible entity under Horizon Europe, and being member of the NEB community or having received funding previously is not assessed. It's not an eligibility criteria. So it's these topics are open to anyone that is eligible to Horizon Europe funding. That's it.
Super clear. But also echoing what Vera said, if you're not a part of the NEB community yet, please do consider joining our community, despite not producing or giving you any immediate advantage in the calls. Next question, Christoph, I would ask this one to you. So can the same organization lead to different applications under two different calls let's say, to apply with the project as a coordinator under participation 01 and participation 03 calls? What are the rules, and maybe also what would be advised, recommended to those that think about this?
Yes, I think this question is very closely linked as well to the next one that's on the screen, in terms of whether you can be a winner twice in an open call. So in principle, yes, you can, because you're free to participate as long as you are eligible to participate. What is behind those two questions is, one, can you participate in several proposals? I think I want to pick up on what Vera said right at the beginning. This is a highly competitive process, and really only the best proposals will make it through. Preparing a proposal under Horizon, including as well for NEB, is a very challenging process. It takes time. And therefore, it's the question how much time you're able to dedicate to several proposals to meaningfully contribute to the proposal development. So that's the one thing. And therefore, I would carefully consider whether it makes necessarily sense to do so. I mean, it happens that there are organizations who participate in several proposals. So theoretically, it's possible. But I just want to make people aware as well that it's a lot of work behind those participations.
Yeah, thank you. Elisa, a question about participation 01 topic. Can social sciences and humanities oriented impact analysis be a research RIA project? Can you give an example maybe about the expected outcomes?
Okay, here I will start the reply, but then maybe I will ask Christoph also to complement in case I forget something. So all the topics include the expected outcomes. So all the topics define which are the expected outcomes that the proposals need to meet. And expected outcomes, as Christoph was explaining, are the, let's say, short to medium term results that the projects need to deliver, so in around 5 years' time. In the case of participation 01, I will just read the main ideas under the expected outcomes, which are better understanding of the effects of the design, aesthetics, and other features of common spaces on inhabitants' behavior, health, sense of belonging, diversity and inclusion, security, resilience, and opportunities to produce social, cultural, and local economic value. So that's one expected outcome. And the other expected outcome is enhanced capacities of relevant stakeholders to integrate insights in policies, strategies, plans, measures for the generation of common spaces in neighborhoods. So these are the two expected outcomes defined by the topic. Of course, then proposals are free to detail other results that they want to deliver at the end of the project. And also important to know that these 4 topics under the destination 1 include a reference to the importance of integrating social sciences and humanities. I hope to have replied to the question, but please, Christoph, come in case I missed something or there's something else you would like to complement.
Just to say that, as an applicant, you're free to decide on your approach as long as you meet the minimum requirements set out in the call topic. And then in terms of the outcome, again, 2 outcomes are the minimum requirements. If there are other outcomes that you feel are really pertinent, you can suggest those as well, of course, as part of your project. But always make sure that you cover what is the minimum requirements set out in the call topic.
Thank you. Well, we will go back to the support for third parties, and we have 2 questions linked to the 100,000 euros. And the first one being, is it possible to issue subcontracts to several manufacturers more than once for prototyping? And the second would be then, is it possible to involve industry partners as a part of the consortium who will then receive more funding than 100,000 euros for prototyping? So I think one is more technical, the other maybe not quite clear with what are the rules. Elisa and Christoph, can you please tackle these 2 questions?
Yeah, I mean, Christoph, do you want to go ahead or shall I start? Because, I mean, okay, I can go ahead. So, I mean, subcontracting is different from financial support to third parties. Financial support to third parties is like launching a call and giving smaller grants to actors outside of the consortium. Subcontracting is really purchasing a service. So it's different. Financial support to third parties is different from subcontracting. Please, Christoph, I don't know if you want to say something else. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, indeed. And then the question whether several manufacturers. So I think what Elisa said earlier was that the maximum amount that can be granted to each third party is 100,000. So that means it can be less per third party. And also it can be such an amount for several third parties. And I think all this has to be clearly defined and justified within the application.
Thank you. A question about the call 04. So are the neighborhoods expected to be exclusively urban or part of the urban environment, or is it possible to involve rural and more remote territories affected by gentrification to foster greater synergy?
So here, I mean, I'm referring back to the topic text, which indicates that proposals should aim for the participation of at least 15 neighborhoods located in urban, peri-urban, and rural areas from different member states and associated countries. So ideally, the focus is not only on urban areas, but covering also peri-urban and rural areas.
Thank you. The next one we have is this one. It's a peculiar question. Do you fund a totally imaginary project? I think maybe it's something is lost in translation here. But let's say we go with the question as it is, Elisa, and let's see how and Christoph how we untangle it. So do we fund a totally imaginary project, or is it also okay for a real area project that is planned to design be funded? So my understanding is whether does the project already needs to be as a part of some kind of planning, and it has a backing in, let's say, a strategy or some development plan, or it can be a completely new project that would be supported through in an adequate way, be explained and supported then through a funding via NEB Facility under Horizon Europe. Maybe I didn't make it more clear, but let's see. Elisa and Christoph, please give it a go.
I think it's a bit difficult to answer the question. It's not entirely clear what is meant, but generally, if we have a demonstration area, the requirements of what the demonstration area should be is a little bit depending on specifically what the topic is about. But if you want to test, validate, or demonstrate something, that should be done normally in relation to something concrete. So in particular, if we have a demonstration project, so an innovation action. When it's a research and innovation action, you sometimes may want to do a first validation of a process, but that could be done in another way. But what it needs to show in the end is that doing the validation will actually give you insights into whether, for example, a particular process is actually doing what it's supposed to be doing. And so far it cannot be totally imaginary. So I think I find it difficult to say a little bit more than that about.
No, I think from how I complicated the question, you pulled out a super answer. But let's see if we get a follow-up question also from the person who originally posted the question. But thanks a lot, Christoph, for saving me on this one. The next question, I think it's also for you, Christoph, and it's about the compatibility of Horizon Europe funding with other European fundings. The example in the question that we had was like, for example, from the ERC. So what are the rules there?
So basically, you can apply as a legal entity to several programs, EU programs, Horizon Europe, European Research Council. That's not a problem. The only issue is that there cannot be double funding by the EU for the same activities. So if you have one project, another EU program which already covers some of the research, for example, that you then also propose under this NEB call, you would have to declare this because you're not allowed to receive EU funding twice for the same work done in different projects, irrespective whether it's within or outside the Horizon Europe program.
Okay, super clear. Christoph, a straightforward question. Can a governmental organization like a municipality or a city participate in the projects?
Again, yes, sure. They are a legal entity, and as long as they fulfill the eligibility criteria, we talked earlier about which member states cannot participate or cannot receive funding. Yeah, as long as they fulfill that, they can.
Super. Yeah, we will have some questions coming back in. I take that as well. Yeah, that it's good to repeat some of the things. So apologies for addressing you with the same questions across. We have one again for you, Christoph, regarding the evaluation process. So beyond the evaluation process through the evaluators, how, if it is, the diversity of funded organizations is ensured across the call or across the calls. This probably refers to the whole Horizon Europe. And then linked to this, the question is there a second round evaluating top-ranked proposals to ensure geographical spread, access to newcomers, gender consideration, social diversity? What are the rules that the program follows in this regard, Christoph?
So the evaluation is done each proposal in its own right. So we don't make a comparison as such between different proposals unless there was, we have this sometimes in topic descriptions, a specific condition whereby, for example, specific areas of the topic will have to be reflected in the final selection. But I don't think we have any of that within the current call. So therefore, each proposal is evaluated in its own right. And we will look at the consortium, but that is really just to make sure that the proposers have a good consortium composition to allow them to deliver the proposed work. Now, in terms of the gender consideration, indeed, once it comes to the ranking of proposals, this is first and foremost done on the basis of the score that they have received. So the top ranked proposals with the highest score are the ones which are at the top of this ranking list, and then the ones would be considered for funding. We sometimes have a situation where several proposals do receive the same points. And then there is a process to allow us to distinguish still the ranking of those equally scored proposals. And it's relatively complex, but one of the criteria actually is gender consideration. So basically, if everything else being equal, proposals which have a better gender balance or more 50-50, closer to 50-50 than the other one, they may end up being higher on the ranking list than another one which more unbalanced gender consideration. But having said that, this is normally it's not very often that we need to revert to this arguably a little bit unsatisfactory criterion in order to distinguish between equally ranked proposals. But all this is also set out within the documentation.
Thank you, Christoph. Elisa, can a university campus be considered a neighborhood common space?
Well, that's an interesting question. So common spaces and neighborhoods are both defined in the glossary. So if you have a quick look at the common spaces definition, they comprise public, semi-public, or private places that are accessible by all. And then the definition of neighborhood indicates that for the purpose of the NEB facility, implementation, a neighborhood will be understood as an area that either has a maximum of 25 square kilometers or a maximum of 10,000 inhabitants. So as long as this campus is part of the, as long as this university campus meets with the requirement of common space and is part of what we are considering a neighborhood in the NEB facility, yes, that could be part of a common space. I don't know if Christoph wants to complement. That's it. Okay, good.
All right. The next question is this one. So about the street furniture, there's a question. So participation 03 topic. The future applicant is interested in the street furniture call as a private company who designs public spaces and furniture. What is the funding level for private actors in this call topic? And if we can extrapolate as a general rule on the funding, that there's no difference between the statuses, probably.
Okay, so participation 3, that is an innovation action. And there are different funding rates depending on the type of project. To have an overview of the funding rates, again, I want to refer you to the general Annex G to the work program. So for innovation actions, generally the funding rate is 70%, with the exception of non-profit legal entities, which receive 100% funding rate. And so that's different innovation actions compared to research innovation actions, so the RIAs. In research innovation actions, the funding rate is 100%. So, but again, you can make reference to Annex G, General Annex G of the work program, where you will find all this information.
Thank you, Christoph. Going to the NEB facility as a whole, what is the relation between the NEB RNI and the rollout component and their funding? Will the rollout continue the RNI projects in some way, temporarily and/or thematically? Elisa, I challenge you with this question.
I can start, and maybe if Vera wants to complement as well, because of course I'm focusing on the RNI component and a bit less on I'm not working on the rollout. But the idea is that the rollout component implements the results and the knowledge generated in the RNI component. It does not mean that the same project under the RNI component will continue with funding through the rollout, but rather the rollout will take up the results and the knowledge generated by the RNI component. Something that is going to happen this year is, of course, this is the first year of operation of the new Bauhaus facility. So we are with launching this year the first call with the first topics. So by the time these topics provide results, it will have there will be some time needed by the time these topics provide results, and at the same time we are also launching the rollout component. So at the beginning of the NEB facility, the rollout component will also let's say, build upon the results of previous actions under the Nearby Bauhaus initiative and other previous Nearby Bauhaus topics and projects beforehand. But it doesn't mean that the same project will be funded consecutively from the RNI to the rollout. I hope I have made myself clear, but otherwise, please, Vera, come in.
Thank you, Elisa. I would go to this one. So can a garden of an institution for people with disabilities, which is not accessible to the public, so not a public space, be considered a common space?
Again, here I would refer to the definition of common space in the glossary, which indicates that common spaces are brought into being through common practices, and these common practices are linked to physical, public, semi-public, or private place that is accessible by all. If these places are not accessible by all, I would not see how they would fit or how they would meet the requirement of the definition of common space. But please, Christoph, if you want to complement as well.
Okay. Well, yeah, I'll go with this one. I'll go with this one. So if a project is a mix of participatory research in terms of both social fabric and aspects of housing design issues, would it be more suitable for destination 1 or destination 2?
I think that I would adapt the question and phrase it differently. Actually, it's not a project. I mean, it's not a question of fitting the project or the proposal needs to be designed in response to the topic. So it really depends on what you want to do. Do you want to focus more on the social fabric dimension, or do you want to focus more on the housing dimension? And depending on that, then you need to tailor your proposal to the requirements of the topic. So it's really up to the applicant to decide.
Thank you. And we'll conclude this first part just with going back to the 100,000, 300,000, who can get what under the participation 03 of a sub-project. So the question goes, if a sub-project is composed by a maximum 3 partners, is each of those 3 companies considered a third party, and then it would be 300,000 the common support, or would it be maximum 100,000?
Okay, I see that this financial support to third parties is raising a lot of questions. So I will try to explain it a bit differently. So a consortium, the members of the consortium are not considered third parties. So third parties are entities outside of the consortium. If you have a project of 3 partners, then it's up to the 3 partners to decide how they want to distribute their budget within the project. And then if they decide to use financial support to third parties, it means that if they win, they will receive a grant, and they will use part of that grant to grant smaller grants to actors outside of the consortium. And then when they grant these smaller grants to actors outside of the consortium, it should be maximum, or it can only be maximum 100,000 per third party. Again, for entities outside of the consortium. I hope it was clearer this time. If not, there is always a Slido.
Exactly. Thank you very much, Elisa. Thank you also, Christoph, for all the answers under the Destination 1. We conclude the Destination 1 presentation and the Q&A, but just before I pass the floor to Emily to present you the Destination 2, I would also like to refer to 2 questions linked to the matchmaking event. For those maybe not aware, so today we have the Info Day talking about the call and the topics underneath, so for the NEB facility, and tomorrow the NEB for All project that brings together 2 configurations of national contact points is organizing a matchmaking event for future applicants. The matchmaking event takes time from 1:30 onwards, but the caveat being that the deadline to apply for the matchmaking event was on 1st of June. So if you haven't applied in time, you will not have access to the matchmaking event tomorrow. But the good news is that the matchmaking platform will reopen in the next weeks, and will still offer the opportunity for you to reach out to those entities or individuals who registered for the matchmaking, also in the months leading up to the final deadline to submit the projects. But when it comes to the question whether it's worthwhile joining the matchmaking event, I would of course say yes, but I do operate under different criteria and understanding that you do. But my general approach would be the more I get to know the landscape of different and possible future applicants, the more likely I can make a connection, build partnership, and then maybe also be successful in pursuing that. So we organize, or the partners we work with organize matchmaking events to ease the application process, to ease the partnership building process, and from that regards, it's definitely worthwhile your time to join and engage in these activities. But enough about that. And going back to the presentations, I would like to invite Emily to take the floor and present us Destination 2.
Thank you, Borut, and good morning, everyone. So yeah, now I'll be presenting you Destination 2. So maybe also to follow a similar approach as Elisa did for Destination 1, I'll start by a few general words about the destination. So Destination 2, as you can see on the slide, it's about circular and regenerative approaches for the built environment. So it focuses more specifically on the physical dimension of neighborhoods and on the built environment. And as the name says, it aims at developing circular and regenerative construction ecosystems. And it aims to do so mainly in two ways. First, by developing innovative construction materials and products, or by rethinking and adapting the ones that already exist. So for instance, by looking into new properties, new uses, how you can recycle those materials and products, etc. And then the second way is by developing new designs, new architectural approaches and construction methods that can contribute to the durability, the resource and energy efficiency of the built environment, or the restoration of its surrounding ecosystems. And of course, since we are in the new Bauhaus, as much as possible, all the solutions developed in Destination 2 should be user-centered and place-based, and they should also connect when relevant with local cultural identity, historical and vernacular knowledge, and cultural heritage. Now with that, I think we can move to the next slide, which will give you the overview of the 4 topics that are foreseen in 2025 for Destination 2. So as in Destination 1, the deadline for those 4 topics is 12th of November 2025. So now moving on with some general explanation of the topics. The first one, Regen 01, so applying regenerative design to the built environment in neighborhoods. This is an innovation action that has an indicative budget of 8 million to fund 2 projects. The TRL level expected by the end of the project is 6 to 8. And there, this project also foreseen the possibility to for applicants to use financial support to third parties. I hope by now it is clear what we mean by that and what is possible under financial support to third parties. But if not, you'll have again the possibility to ask questions. Now, why this topic? Well, maybe first a word on regeneration. So again, this is one of the definitions that is included in the glossary at the beginning of the New Bauhaus work program. But in short, regeneration really is about restoring, revitalizing, and enhancing ecosystems. And that's something you may be aware of, but it's the 3rd level of ambition of the sustainability value in the New Bauhaus Compass, which is a document that explains in details and concretely what the 3 values of the New Bauhaus are and how they can be concretely translated. Say that regeneration really is at the core of the New Bauhaus. And it can be a way also to design our buildings. But there, when we're talking about regenerative design applied to the built environment, there's still quite a few things that need to be explored and understood. And so that's why we wanted to have this topic. It focuses on really better understanding regenerative design applied to new or renovated buildings. So, you know, the success factors, the challenges, the impacts, etc. And it's also about implementing regenerative design in the built environment. Then the second topic in the destination 2 is biofabricated materials for sustainable and beautiful construction. Now, this is a research innovation action. The total budget is 10 million. That would be distributed across 2 projects. And the material level expected at the end of the projects is 5. Again, why we decided to have this project in destination 2 is because the shift towards a sustainable and circular construction ecosystem requires innovative and sustainable materials. And biofabricated materials do hold a lot of potential to reduce their environmental impact of the built environment. But again, they are still very much underexplored, and they also face barriers such as technical barriers, regulatory ones, high production costs, and just the lack of knowledge and in general acceptance by the construction ecosystems of those materials. So the topic will address this by developing and testing at least 2 innovative, sustainable biofabricated construction materials and better understanding them by, you know, studying their properties, their impacts, looking at their mass scale production feasibility to really ultimately increase the use and acceptance of those materials in the construction ecosystems. Now, the third topic is on sufficiency measures in the built environment. That will be a research innovation action. As you see on the slide, the budgetary allocation is 8 million intended for 2 projects. And the TRL level expected by the end of the project would be again 5. Here again, the thinking behind this topic is a bit similar. It's really that the built environment requires new approaches, new sustainable approaches to become more sustainable and more circular. And sufficiency practices, they do lead to reduced demand for energy, for materials, for land, for water, for, in general, natural resources and raw materials, because of course you are not building new, you're using what is already there. So again, it's interesting to better understand how they can make the built environment more sustainable and circular, but also affordable. And sufficiency measures are especially interesting also because they can help address social issues such as housing shortages, which is an issue many countries face currently. Again, this is something that needs to be better understood, better explored, because there are a lot of data constraints and limited understanding of the impacts of sufficiency measures applied to the built environment. So the topic will aim to address this first by testing and validating an approach to map and quantify vacant and underutilized spaces that have a high sufficiency potential in the built environment, because this is something that was really reported as missing and as a challenge. And then it's about really testing and validating sufficiency measures so that optimize, repurpose, or expand the use and functionality of spaces, and then see how much and measure and quantify how much those measures contribute to a reduction in demand for floor space and resources. And finally, the last topic in destination 2 is on innovative approaches for sustainable, inclusive, and beautiful social and affordable housing. This is an innovation action with a total budget of 16 million euros for 2 projects. And the TRL level expected at the end of the project is 6 to 8. Now, again, why this topic? It's really because we can see that there is an increasing number of innovative building technologies and construction methods that are available on the market to make construction and renovation more sustainable. And at the same time, there are more and more regulations to make the built environment more sustainable. But the new methods and technologies, they often come with a cost. And so it makes it very challenging to apply those solutions and methods to social and affordable housing. So the topic is about developing innovative approaches to make those approaches and methods that already exist accessible and applicable to social and affordable housing, and both for new construction, but also renovation and retrofitting. And also what's important to mention here as regards this topic is that by social and affordable housing, that also includes social care homes, elderly houses, or in short, other forms of inclusive housing that have residential function complemented with social welfare. So that's it in a nutshell for the short presentation of the 4 topics. And back to you, Barut, now for the Q&A session.
Thank you very much, Emily. As previously, we'll stop the presentation and sharing for a while, just to go through the questions that we received through Slido before the session. And Emily, the first one is a more general one, and it was actually the first question that we got on Slido, so it was probably almost 3 weeks ago. Could you give an example how disabled persons organization could benefit from the NEB facility? What kind of project could be interesting?
Sure, happy to take this very first question. So yeah, I mean, disabled person organizations, they can be a member of consortium. And well, if I program, there are different topics that that could be interesting for such organizations. I'm thinking particularly of the topics in Destination 1. Actually, I think the 4 of them could be particularly interesting for those kind of organizations. Then when it comes to Destination 2, yeah, particularly the one I just presented, so on sustainable, inclusive, and beautiful social and affordable housing, there can be relevant, I think, because there's attention paid to well-being of vulnerable groups. And then when it comes to Destination 3, but yeah, please, colleagues, if you want to add something, feel free. But when it comes to Destination 3, I think it's more particularly Business 01, so on renovating the built environment through design for adaptability and disassembly, and Business 02, so bottom-up social entrepreneurship for the co-creation of neighborhoods in line with the urban Bauhaus that are more interesting for those organizations. But my colleague Sophia will present those 2 topics later on.
Thanks, Emily. Going to the content, can a nature-based solution designer be a partner beneficiary, or can they only participate in open calls as a demonstration third party? That's the question linked to the 01 call.
Well, I don't know, maybe that is more for Christoph here.
Oh yeah, sorry, I might have wrongly asked you that, but I will just repeat the question then. So can a designer focus on nature-based solutions be a partner beneficiary, or can they only participate in an open call as applying for the third-party funding?
Yeah, again, the consortia are free to decide on the consortium composition, and they may be a good reason to have design company involved as a consortium member. If it's financial support to third parties, I think, is that applying to topic? Sorry, yeah, topic 1. As we were saying earlier, that's not a requirement, it's a possibility. And if the consortium decides that they want to do this, of course, then the design company can also could also be the target of the financial support to third parties scheme.
Thank you, Christoph. We go then to the second question we received. Could biofabricated materials be used to make street furniture, such as benches or bike recharging stations, to demonstrate sustainable and beautiful construction? Emily, what would you say?
Well, there, yeah, boldly I would say no. Again, you need to refer to the topic text, and there it's really written that the topic focuses on the development of biofabricated construction materials. So here we really mean materials that can be used for building construction, so not straight furniture. And the topic text also specifies that the materials will have to be used for interior, exterior, or structural purposes. So yeah, again, the topics need to, the proposal needs to fulfill the topic text requirements. So here, no street furniture such as benches or bike recharges that would not fit under this this topic.
Thanks, Emily. Christoph, there's a question. Is it possible to present one international company who will design the functional planning for the disabled people and the rest Spanish companies be all suitable from the point of view of cost eligibility, financing their cost eligibility? Sorry, Christoph?
Yeah, so this was region.
Yeah, it's the fourth topic under destination 2.
Yeah, social and affordable housing.
So in this case, we've got an innovation action. As part of innovation action, we are required to have at least 3 legal entities, of which one has to be a member state, and the other 2 have to be a member state or from associated countries, from different member states or associated countries. So that would mean that if you've got only 2 countries represented within the consortium, that would not fulfill the requirement for consortium composition, because in this case you would have 1 international company and then the rest would all be Spanish. So that would not fulfill the minimum requirement.
Okay, well understood. Thank you. And the next question also about the fourth topic under destination 2. Is it possible to present one building with 2 projects in it? One for young people with limited earnings and another project adapted to disabled people, people with disabilities. It is a total of 24 flats with a total budget of 3.5 million euros. So we have quite a specific question here. I invite you both to share your thoughts on this.
And maybe I can start. And again, I would say here to really refer to the topic text, where proposals are asked to define and implement in 2 social and affordable housing projects 2 packages of measures. But there it's specified that one package of measures must be applied to a new construction, and then the other package of measures should be applied to a building renovation or retrofitting. So if, taking that into account, it seems hard because one only building cannot be at the same time new and renovated. So yeah.
Thank you, Emily. Christoph, would you like to add anything? All right. But then we go back to Slido, and give me a second. We have quite a lot of questions already coming in here. We'll start with also this one, the first one. So again, about the fourth topic, what is meant by proposals are expected to define and implement in two social and affordable housing projects, two ambitious packages of measures, build and finish projects, or technical design, or a project can be on the level of having design files, technical files already prepared. So what do we consider as a project here?
To be honest, I'm not sure I fully understand the question, but just to go again over what we would expect from the project. So it would be really about developing two packages of measures that shows how you can use existing approaches, technologies, etc., that are on the market, but how you would apply them to social and affordable housing projects. And one packages would have to focus on the construction of a new project, and then the other one would have to be more targeted to a renovation or retrofitting project. So yeah, I'm not sure that answer the questions, but so it would be taking projects that like social and affordable projects that exist and see how you can apply innovative approaches to them.
Christoph, would you like to come in?
If I may add, I think it's worth having or recognizing that this is an innovation action. Innovation actions are also having this demonstration or validation component. Then in the scope, it referred to that we want to see innovative approaches to make the best use of already available building technologies and construction methods. So this is the context for this topic, and therefore there are, in terms of what projects have to deliver, are two key components. The one is to develop an innovative approach for the construction or renovation, retrofitting of buildings, specifically in the social and affordable housing sector. And then having this approach, we want them also to define and implement those packages of measures in two concrete projects. And so really that helps to then demonstrate those innovative approaches that they are suggesting within their project. So I think taking these things together, there's then the linkages between those key components.
And if I can follow up here, because we have another question on this and I'm highlighting it now. So the question is pretty much the same, but maybe more clear whether this implementation of the two projects is meant as on a design level or it needs to be built. And then a follow-up question is what is the duration or what can be the duration of the project, and we can also touch on that. Does this maybe clarifies more what the first question was also there? Or we do not expect them, we do not prescribe the implementation level, whether it's on the design level or it's actually a project in the built environment.
So in terms of, if I may, in terms of the social and affordable housing projects, there we're talking about defining and implementing. So it goes beyond the pure design phase.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. And yeah, please, Emily. Sorry.
And just also regarding duration of the projects, that's also up to the proposals to define. To define, exactly.
Yeah. And I think that's, they have to recognize then as well the timing required in order to allow them to fulfill the public requirements. But there's no limit in terms of the duration of projects. Generally, I think duration of projects range between 2 and 5 years. So that's the typical range, but it's not a prescription, it's not a requirement. Proposals are free to come up with an appropriate time frame for their project implementation.
Thank you. I would then go to the next question here. So, not this one, sorry. This one. So given that this is a RIA call, is it expected that the project also defines or analyzes what competitive cost means in this context? Or is it enough for one partner to just define one biofabricated material according to the call? It's a bit of a mix of a content and more technical question. So I don't want to call any either you or Emily or you, Christoph, but kind of leaving you to decide who will tackle this one.
Yeah, well, maybe I can already start by saying that, again, under the scope, there is a requirement to study the feasibility for mass-scale productions to increase production volumes and affordability. So that's the requirement that proposals will need to fulfill here.
Yeah, so this relates, I think this competitive cost quote relates to the expected outcomes.
Indeed.
And so what we want to see within projects, that the activities that they're undertaking, that there is a clear link. So it's the impact pathway that we are talking about. So there's a clear link to those expected outcomes. And so within the proposal should justify and demonstrate how they will contribute to this particular outcome. And so and then to define what is a competitive cost. Indeed, it would make sense to, depending on what the project is specifically about, to then also demonstrate what they consider to be then the competitive cost element, so that it's clear for the evaluators as well to follow the idea and the argument put forward by the project. If there's no information then about how that is understood by the project, that can make it very difficult then as well for the evaluators to assess. So it's always important, and I think that's probably a more general point, for the proposers to put themselves into the shoes of the evaluators, who only have the proposal and need to then make an assessment to what extent a particular project or proposal would contribute to those expected outcomes.
Thank you.
And
please, Emily.
Sorry, Bert, just reading through the second part of these questions. Is it enough for one partner to just define one biofabricated material according to this call? Yeah, again, the topic text stress that proposals are expected to develop and test at least 2 innovative, sustainable biofabricated constructions materials. So we would expect projects to develop and test 2 materials.
Super clear. Thank you. We can mark this one as answered, and we go to the question from Ernest regarding the topic 3. So the topic highlights sufficiency measures as the key focus of the topic. For example, at least 2 sufficiency measures to be tested in at least 3 neighborhoods. However, the call doesn't specify or provides any references to what sufficiency measures are, except a short definition. So how should the project proposals navigate around this, Emily?
Well, there again, I would refer to the glossary that is included in the work program. Sufficiency is defined there, and we also explain what sufficiency measures are. So I can read it. The sufficiency measures applied to the built environment are designed to optimize the use of existing buildings, limiting their under-occupation rates and leading to the reduction of demand for new built floor space, and thereby to the reduction of resource and land consumption and environmental impact by the built environment. But yeah, this is included in the glossary, which is in the work program.
So we also got one question directly here. Where can they find the glossary? Because it's not on the NEB Facility webpage. While that's a very good point, and we look into a solution there. Emily, where can people find work program apart from on our website under the info, the event, and so on and so forth? What's the easiest way to find it if you have just your browser and your search engine?
Well, yeah, if you look into your search engine Pan Horizon for European Bauhaus NEB Facility Horizon Europe Work Program, you will end up on a Commission webpage where you can download all the work program parts, including the European Bauhaus one, under a PDF format document. And there you will really have the whole European Bauhaus work program. That includes also the glossary. Maybe we can share the link to.
Definitely, and those who registered to receive a reminder, we will follow up with you as well after the session, and we'll include these links. But we will also add the link to the NEB Facility page, or develop a different PDF to just have the glossary there.
Yeah.
Maybe to add that all topics for Horizon Europe are published on the EU Funding and Tenders portal. And once you then get to a particular topic, you will get the topic text. And if you scroll a little bit down, there's a section where you also get access to the full work program, as well as the application forms, as well as the general annexes. So for each topic, there is a section within the topic description on the funding and tender portal where you get all this information. The other way of accessing information is also, again, on the EU Funding and Tenders portal in the section Guidance and Documents. And there again, you can download the full program, the full work program, all annexes, the application forms, the model grant agreement, the annotated model grant agreement, and a lot of other guidance that we have been referring to during this morning's session already.
Thank you, Christoph. And also thank you to the person that added links to the questions. You have it here under latest questions. If you're using desktop computer, you can definitely copy paste it. Going back to the questions, Christoph, Julia is asking a question linked to how many partners should participate in Horizon Europe project. So how big of a partnership is expected from how many countries? We touched on this previously, but let's repeat it again.
Yes, so as we were saying earlier, there's a minimum requirement for consortium composition, which is for WEA and Innovation Actions, 3 entities, of which one needs to be from a member state, and then the other ones can be from a member state associated country, and they do have to come from different countries, so 3 different countries. If you're applying for a CSA type actions, then it can be one legal entity coming from a member state associated country. And then beyond that, again, you've got the eligibility criteria in terms of who can participate and who can receive funding. So there's also sometimes partners who can be in a partnership, but may not be able to receive funding. And then what we said earlier still counts. You need to design your partnership in order to allow you to convincingly deliver the particular project that you're proposing. Therefore, you should take great care in designing your partnership, making sure that you've got the right organizations within this, because you have to remember, one thing is to convince the experts who are evaluating these proposals. The other thing is you're going to have to implement your project later. So you want to make sure that you've got the right people there, whether they have the right competence in terms of the research, the technical background, in terms of the SSH requirements that you have to fulfill, but also in terms of delivering your demonstration, if it's an innovation action, etc. So all these things need to be considered beyond the purely basic requirements that there are in terms of the eligibility requirements. But giving you an indication of how many there should be, that is something that we are unable to do, and we don't want to do neither, because we can't advise you on how to structure, for example, your consortium.
Thank you, Christoph. Going back to you, Emily, we have a question related to the second topic. Are bio-based products allowed to be studied, or only biofabricated materials are included in this topic?
So here, the idea behind this topic was really to target biofabricated materials, which, again, to send you back to the glossary, but biofabricated materials are defined there in the glossary are as materials that are made by growing living cells and microorganisms. So, well, biofabricated materials can be bio-based, but here we really want to focus on biofabricated materials, and that was precisely the idea of this topic, is to go beyond simple bio-based materials and products, and to really focus on biofabricated ones.
Emily, you see the second question here is basically also linked to this one. And listening to you, I couldn't really find an answer to the second one. So I invite you also maybe to specifically answer this one as well. So is the target bio-based materials alone, or they can be integrated biomaterials in a building system, for example?
Here, it's a research innovation action that is really focusing on the development and testing of biofabricated materials. So I think talking about building systems is already, kind of too advanced. So the focus of the topic here is really on the development and testing of biofabricated materials.
Thank you. And we continue sticking to the second topic here. So Jan is asking, could you please clarify requirement for the structural use of the biofabricated materials? Does the material need to work as a primary structure, for example, load-bearing wall, or a secondary structure, for example, self-supporting wall or a roof panel?
And there, the topic text isn't too prescriptive. The requirement is that it would have to be used for either interior, exterior, or structural purposes. So here could be both. I mean, either it could work as a primary structure, such as a load-bearing wall, or a secondary structure.
Okay, thank you. Projects can choose. Then if we go to the next one, in response for an application in research and innovation, so a type of project, what balance in the consortium between universities and civil society organizations is needed, required, or recommended? We heard Christoph saying many times that depending what you want to do in the project, you should really build the consortium based on that. But beyond that, do we have any specific expectations on these different balances in consortiums?
No, we don't.
Super clear, thank you. If we go back to the two questions related to two topics, 01 and 04, and the definition of regeneration. The topics speak about regenerating ecosystems. Does this include humans as well as ecological? For example, design that also affect human well-being and healing as well as ecological, or do these topics focus primarily on materials in the construction ecosystem?
So when we talk about regeneration, it's really much of the regeneration of natural ecosystems, so biodiversity, etc. But of course, this has impacts on human health and well-being, and this is really something that is proven, that there is a direct link between the health of natural ecosystems and the one of human beings. So having regenerative designs applied to the built environment would have impact on human well-being and health. But here the focus of the topic is really about applying regenerative designs to buildings. So, and as I said, regenerative meaning, yeah, that building would ultimately contribute to the restoration and revitalization of natural ecosystems.
Thank you.
And yeah, on materials, I mean, so no, here the focus is on designs, and materials can be an aspect of it, but it's really much focusing on regenerative designs.
Clear. Then we have the question regarding the topic 4, but also a more general question regarding the partnerships. Are there already partnerships under construction? Who are the subjects currently involved in the partnerships under construction? I think that the question is a bit too specific, since we really don't have an insight into the partnerships developing project applications. But Emily, Christoph, what would you add here maybe?
By partnerships, I mean, we may, is it meant consortium?
That's my understanding, yeah.
Okay, yeah,
So,
I think so too.
these partnerships.
Well, as you said, Barut, we don't have an overview of what is going on, but maybe here I can take the opportunity to remind of the different ways through which you can look for partners. You mentioned the brokerage event that is taking place tomorrow, so that would be a first way to look for partners. But then also worth mentioning that on the funding and tenders portal, each topic also has a search for partner button where you can express interest, say, okay, I'm looking for partners. So that's also a way to find partners. And actually, if you go there now, I guess you would see if people already expressed interest in being a partners, etc. And then, of course, we've been mentioning it. We do have the New Open Bauhaus community, and although, as we explained earlier, it doesn't give you any kind of advantage when it comes to the project evaluation. There, you could also find organizations interested in participating in the topics.
Thank you. We go back to 02 topic. So on biofab materials, proposals are expected to develop and test 2 different materials. Does 2 materials mean 2 totally different materials, or is a composite material okay, where only one material differs? So composite material is material 1 plus material 2, and then the second composite material would be material 1 plus material 3. So what do you say, Emily?
Well, there again, I mean, it's wait, sorry, I'm referring back to the scrolling back to the region 2 topic. So no, I mean, it would be probably 2 different materials. But yeah, each one of them would have to comply with the different points that are listed. And since we define biofabricated materials as being grown from a microorganism and cells, they're not composite materials.
Okay. We zoom out a bit with the next question. The mentioned TRLs are the level of project products, or is it minimal level of the research before starting the project? So to what the TRL refers to in this context? Or is the question too general?
TRL levels, which are mentioned in the work program, generally refer to the activities that they need to reach a specific TRL level at the end of the project. And those activities then relate normally to the, in terms of the key solution that is to be developed within that topic. Yeah, and it's not relating to the research before starting the project. So if, for example, your tier level refers to level 5, that is the level to be attained at the end of the project. If it was already at the start of the project, that means it's already there, and then it wouldn't justify doing further research because you already have attained the tier level.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, makes sense. And then a link to this one, I'm also highlighting the question. So if we can exemplify what is not our understanding, but what's an understanding of TRL5 in practical terms, is it possible to answer this question, or is it not too complicated to approach it in these practical terms?
So there is this, I think the inquiry here is making reference to the general annex of the work program, which includes a definition of the technology readiness levels. And so there are technology readiness level 5 is technology which is validated in a relevant environment. So if we're looking at tier level 4, it's validation in a lab. So validation basically means you want to check whether a particular process or a project is actually doing what it's intending to do. So that's the first validation to make sure, well, it works in a lab environment. Tier level 5 would then be in a relevant environment. So that's taking it out of a lab into an environment where it's allowed to actually test it and see, well, it still performs as what you would expecting. And then in terms of demonstration, that would go a step further in terms of how it's being applied. So that's a more thorough testing and making sure that it's not the basic functionalities which are working, so I'm actually going further in and testing out that process or the tool or the product is performing as one would, in terms of the key features as one would expect.
Thanks a lot. And as Christoph said, these are all things also explained. You can read more about it in the annexes to the work program. We continue with the question related to 01 topic. Can an organization presenting a case study for neighborhoods be a beneficiary in the consortium, or should it apply as a TP, Emily?
Well, there again, it would be up to the applicants to assess where, if it would make sense to be part of the consortium or more to be participating as a third party. But again, maybe worth mentioning and worth stressing that financial support to third party is an option that is offered to proposals, but it's not mandatory. So maybe depending on the proposal, there won't be financial support to third party used. But it's very much, I mean, there we don't really have much guidance to give. It's up to the applicants.
Roger, understood.
I don't know if Christoph, you want to add something.
I mean, it's also possible that there is an organization who would be acting as a case study who is not part of the consortium and is not receiving funding through the financial support to third party arrangement. I think important is, because I don't think the question was related to a particular topic, where you have the validation demonstration activities and you are highly reliant on this particular demonstration site or pilot site being available. I think if they're not part of the consortium, it is also important to show how you have obtained the commitment of that organization, which is not directly part of your project, to be available and to cooperate with the project in order to allow them to act as a demonstration site, because losing a demonstration site is always can have a big impact on the project. So it's also worth thinking about how to demonstrate that they are committed and involved within the project, even though they're not part of the consortium.
Thank you. The next question is the following and refers to the again to the 04 call. So both the social housing projects should involve residential buildings, or also other types of buildings can be considered. For example, a community center in a social housing neighborhood.
No, so here we really ask that the projects have some kind of residential function that is with social welfare, but so residential function is important for this topic.
All clear, thank you. Next question refers to the 01 topic concerning the expected outcome, test and proven principles of regenerative design in the design, construction and renovation of the built environment. With the focus on neighborhoods, do these tests have a minimum scale that they need to comply with?
No. If you look at the topic text, there's no, I mean, it's not, yeah, there's no indication, so there's no minimum scale. Yeah, the only point is that it has to be demonstrated in at least 3 neighborhoods. But then, yeah, whether you're doing it on a small or bigger building, it's not prescribed.
Okay, we go. So Jan has a follow-up question on the topic 2. So each of the materials need either be used for internal use or external use or structural use. So is it or and that the 2 materials need to be used? So either, yeah, you understand the question.
Yeah. No, it is or. So it's either internal use or external use or structural use. Again, that's a minimum. So if you can develop something for internal use and external use, it's also okay. But the minimal requirement is, yeah, or.
Very good. This one is quite general. So for region, so I'm understanding this for destination 2. What should be considered as positive impact? I mean, it's also, yeah. Can we even answer a question as broad as this?
No.
I mean, specific expectations are expected impact is described under each of the topics, if I'm not mistaken.
Indeed. So, for instance, in some topic, you would have, for instance, you would be requested to do a whole life cycle assessment. Sometimes it's just given as an example. It's not even mandatory. We leave it open to the proposals. But yeah, there are tools that exist to measure the impact on the environment, on, I don't know, social and economic impacts. But yeah, when we expect something very specific, it's in the topic text.
Mm-hmm. That's a good guidance. A question linked to the first topic. So should the 10 existing examples of regenerative designs already be defined at the proposal stage? The call mentions measuring the sustainability performance of the buildings through assessment methods such as, does this refer to the 10 existing examples or also to the pilot sites?
Yeah, so it does refer to 10 existing examples. So, yes, sorry.
Yeah, I think the expectation would be that the proposers identify those. It's difficult otherwise for the evaluators to assess the proposal if there's no information about what the proposers consider as regenerative design examples and how their methodology would be built around all this.
All right, and then I have a question that is linked to this one. Again, so are the 10 existing examples of regenerative design should be related only to buildings, or could regenerative design of public spaces, off public spaces also be studied?
There we, in the topic text, we refer to constructed and renovated buildings. So it is buildings.
Super clear, thank you. So the person is asking, am I right to understand you, Emily, that the 2 implemented projects under the topic 4 must be related to the 2 affordable or social housing projects that already exist? Is that a correct understanding of
Indeed, yeah.
you were saying? Okay, we can confirm.
Because yeah.
No, please add. I didn't want to interrupt you.
No, I was just going to say that the topic there is not about developing new affordable or social housing projects. It's really about demonstrating how you can make use of existing methods or approaches and how you can apply them to social and affordable housing. So to do that, I would have to test on the projects that are there.
Thank you. We go back to the 01 topic, and is the role of the ecosystem and more broadly environmental considerations seen as a fundamental pillar in the regenerative design approach adopted by the consortium?
Well, again, the question is quite broad. I'm not sure, to be honest, I'm not sure I fully understand it. I mean, yes, the regeneration of natural ecosystems is at the core of the topic. So I would tend to say yes. But again, I mean, it's about fulfilling all the requirements that are in the topic text.
It's about the big picture, not very specific focuses in that sense. We go back to more, we have one general questions and then 2 more linked to the topic 4, and then we wrap up the destination 2 and go to the destination 3. So, Christoph, I haven't asked you anything, any repetitive question for a while. So let's go with this one. Can my organization be in 2 different consortiums for the same call this time around? So we can't hear you actually.
So of course there is no limitation. They can be in any topic under this call.
Perfect, thanks.
Reference as well to my earlier comment about the work involved in putting a good proposal together in order to have a competitive chance.
Thank you. And Emily, the last 2 questions. So again, on 04 topic, is it possible to present a project of a rehabilitated building that we have already finished a few months ago and a new building that haven't started yet, both innovative, sustainable, inclusive, and affordable?
Well, I think nothing really forbids that in the text, but I guess since, again, you need to fulfill the different requirements, and some of them are quite specific and would have to be, tackled while the project is ongoing. It might be challenging. Like, for instance, I'm thinking of, there is a requirement for renovations and retrofitting projects where possible, you should minimize and mitigate the disruptions for residents. Then if it's already over, maybe that wasn't really taken up in the project, but yeah.
Mhm.
I add, I mean, one of the key aspects of this topic is that they are to develop an innovative approach for construction or renovation of existing buildings. So it would be difficult to see how then this approach could be applied to a project that is already completed. In particular, as we would expect here, a TRL level of 6 to 8. So the methodology to be tested, to be then demonstrated, would require you to actually apply it. So tier level 6 to 8, that would be in a relevant environment. So, and then you wouldn't be able to do this because this project is already completed. So you couldn't actually then apply your innovative approach to this particular building. It can be used in some other ways. Maybe that's up to the project to consider, but I can't see how that would allow you to actually use it for the demonstration purposes and in order to allow you to reach tier level 6 to 8, as requested by the topic.
Thank you. And the final question in this round, would we be 3 legal entities at the consortium from 3 different European countries and present the 2 projects in the same country?
Yes, so there's no requirements regarding where the project should have would have to be located, so it could be in the same country.
All right, super clear. Emily and Christoph, thank you very, very much for this 1 hour of Q&As and all the explanations. We are left with destination 3, which is the destination under the wing of my colleague Sophia. Sophia, I'm dealing with the PowerPoint, so that's why I'm speaking a bit slowly. But please take the floor, and I will take care that the presentation behind follows your speech. The floor is yours, please.
Thanks, Borat, and thanks for following up with the PowerPoint. Hello, everyone. I'm happy to give you an overview of Destination 3, the last destination under the NEB Facility Work Program 25. And following the same structures for the other 2 destinations, I'll first give you a general overview of the destination and what it focuses on. What are the key aspects under it, and then an overview of the individual topics under this destination. So Destination 3 explores innovative funding and new business models that can support the transformation and revitalization of neighborhoods. And it aims to do so by focusing on understanding what are the key existing barriers as well as drivers for the development and uptake of NEB projects in the built environment. It also focuses on, based on that, fostering appropriate market conditions and demand and incentives for these NEB projects by understanding and demonstrating their feasibility, the different value streams that they create, their long-term sustainability, and also their competitiveness. And also this destination seeks to attract increased investment in our projects through returns and incentives that go beyond financial capital alone. So looking here at environmental, aesthetic, cultural, social, and other types of value. The topics, as in the other two destinations, the topics under this destination, they also seek to focus on aspects needed for the revitalization of the built environment across urban, peri-urban, and rural areas. Also here, all the topics include this encouragement for proposals to follow a participatory and transdisciplinary approach by integrating the different relevant actors and disciplines based on the topics. And where relevant, some of the topics also include a paragraph encouraging the inclusion of SSH, so social science and humanities actors and disciplines. So this destination accounts with 3 topics under 2025, which you'll be able to see in the next slide. As for the topics under the other 2 destinations, the deadline for applications is the 12th of November of this year, 2025. So jumping straight into a quick overview of what these 3 topics focus on. The first topic is renovating the built environment through design for adaptability and disassembly. This is an innovation action with an indicative budget of 12 million for 2 projects and is a lump sum topic. So this topic focuses on prioritizing reuse and renovation in the existing built environment. So here, the built environment being one of the main sectors responsible for carbon emissions and waste. This topic looks at how reuse and renovation can be sustainable by reducing new raw material demand and energy use and carbon emissions, but also how this can help maintain the social and cultural value of existing buildings, spaces, and infrastructures in the built environment. So here, design for adaptability and disassembly refers to a concept for the design of buildings, common spaces, as well as infrastructures that integrates circular economy principles to achieve economic, environmental, but also social sustainability. And it can use modular construction components that can be disassembled from buildings and spaces and then be reassembled, reused, and repurposed in other buildings and spaces without major structural changes to them. And it presents here the potential to support the renovation of the existing built environment by supporting this long-term use and adaptation of existing buildings to changing needs, uses, but also technological advancements. And the key focus here is that these approaches based on design for adaptability and disassembly have focused on new constructions mostly so far because it's easier to adapt and repurpose a building or space that has been designed for disassembly from the outset. But most building spaces in the built environment have already been built and now require to be adapted to new uses and functions. So therefore, this topic focuses on how this concept of designing for adaptability and assembly can be applied to the renovation of the existing built environment, and also looking at the different impacts and incentives that can be created or may exist to renovate based on adaptability and assembly compared to conventional renovation approaches. Then moving on to the second topic, which is on bottom-up social entrepreneurship for the co-creation of neighborhoods in line with the new European Bauhaus. This is also an innovation action with an indicative budget of 12 million for 3 projects and is also a lump sum topic. So here, the context is that social enterprises and social entrepreneurship are established concepts and approaches, but research is needed to understand the different aspects of how bottom-up social entrepreneurship can be used and how can it contribute to the co-creation of neighborhoods together with inhabitants. And the idea is here that bottom-up social entrepreneurship can contribute to the sustainable but also inclusive transformation of neighborhoods by leveraging the local expertise of inhabitants, their engagement, integrating the NEB values, and also adopting this place-based approach and focus. So the topic focuses here on understanding the incentives and the impacts that there are for bottom-up social entrepreneurship in neighborhoods. So, for example, how can it contribute to the well-being of inhabitants, to social cohesion, but also new economic and employment opportunities in neighborhoods? And also, the topic looks at how to support inhabitants, and here also looking at marginalized and vulnerable groups, to share knowledge and experiences among themselves and build this capacity to cooperate and engage in these bottom-up social enterprises and initiatives. And then the third and last topic under Destination 3 looks at reverse local construction supply chains for the beautiful reassembly of reclaimed construction products. It's a research and innovation action with an indicative budget of 12 million for 3 projects and is also a lump sum topic. So this topic also focuses on this transition towards more renovation and reuse in the built environment. And in that context, it can be observed that most of the focus so far has been on the disassembly, collection, sorting, and recycling stages of in the built environment and of construction products, while research is still needed on the later reassembly stage of these reclaimed construction products. And here, this reassembly stage is key to reintegrate this increasing amount of resources that is reclaimed and reapply them, reuse them in new applications in the built environment. And in the context of the NEB and the NEB values, looking at this presents an opportunity to rethink how to reassemble these products in ways that can also increase the aesthetic and cultural value in the built environment. And reverse local construction supply chains are key here for this to enable and support the sustainable and safe reuse of construction products at the local level. So to summarize, this topic focuses on a few key elements. First of all, it's this reassembly stage. Then looking at how this beautiful reassembly can contribute to the aesthetic and cultural value of the built environment. So here exploring potentially existing aesthetic and cultural standards in the built environment. Then looking at these reverse construction supply chains as a support, and also the focus here at the local neighborhood and regional level. So yeah, that's a brief overview of Destination 3, and I'll hand back over to you, Borut, for the questions.
Thank you very much, Sophia. So we have 3 topics, last destination, and also 45 minutes until the end of the info session. We continue similarly as before. So we have a number, we have like 7-8 questions that we received up front. We'll deal with them while, of course, we are collecting the questions on Slido continuously. We already have 2 here, and I invite you to submit more. So, Sophia, the question, so to kickstart this Q&A with the first question, which goes like this: when projects are expected to deal with urban, peri-urban and rural spaces, is this in a literal sense? Should each of the 3 categories be represented in a project? If not, how would you ensure they are represented?
Yeah, thanks. So these requirements are specific to each topic. So here we encourage you to look at the specific topic texts. And to give an example, so when a topic requires demonstrating developed solutions in at least, let's say in at least 3 neighborhoods from urban, peri-urban and rural areas, it's to be understood that a demonstrator is expected in each of those 3 different contexts. So indeed, urban, peri-urban and rural spaces. This is the case, for example, in a few topics in Destination 2. But in general, when we refer to urban, peri-urban or rural spaces, this is an encouragement for projects to try and focus across these areas, but when it's not explicitly written and it's not a requirement to demonstrate in the 3 areas.
I will break the rules, Sophia, here a bit, because we got the question on Slido that connects directly to this. How should we understand peri-urban and rural areas? And the person asking this also says this is not a part of the glossary, and adds, could it be understood as parts of the same city, or can it be one of each from a different city? Well, city or area, because rural is not the part of the city anyway. But if we focus on the first question, how should we understand peri-urban and rural areas, since they are not described in the glossary per the person asking?
Yeah. I would refer, first of all, to, in the glossary, the definition of neighborhood. So these, projects to address neighborhoods within these, so within an urban area, let's say. Because we have no specific definition of what is an urban compared to a peri-urban rural area, the expectation here is that these neighborhoods should differentiate themselves by the characteristics in the built environment that might pertain to the common understanding of urban environments compared to rural areas, for example. Hope that.
Yeah, that
I can maybe
answers.
add. I mean, the reason why when we have a requirement for all of these areas, that is about making sure that the demonstration or validation of processes can be done in those different contexts. And therefore, I think it's important to then carefully choose those areas in order to ensure that the project really can do that thorough testing based on those very different characteristics of those areas. So therefore, it is good to spend some time actually on identifying and choosing carefully your locations where you want to apply that particular solution, for example, in order to show as well to the evaluators that you actually can run that process through all its paces by really taking into account the very different characteristics of those areas, in order to then get really a good validation or demonstration of those solutions.
Thanks,
Super.
Christoph.
Thank you both. Next question from the list for you, Sophia, and Christoph, please compliment, of course, if you want. What types of sustainability commitments are expected from the call? Probably it meant from the topic, but yeah.
Yeah, this seems to be a broader question, not referring to any specific topic. So here we invite you to, first of all, please refer to the work program, and in particular the description of the destination, but also the topics which you intend to apply, which may contain any more specific expectations regarding sustainability. And also here, worth mentioning that the application form also asks applicants to include any potential considerations on any potential negative environmental outcomes or impacts of the projects. So here, where relevant, projects should explain how this potential harm can be managed. So yeah, an overall response to this question on sustainability commitments.
Thank you. Christoph, back to you. So under the lump sum for IA, can you confirm small-scale works, equipment purchases, or simulated investments are eligible if used to test or validate innovative business and funding models? And then to complement this, are there limitations to consider?
You're muted, Christoph.
Sorry. So we have 3 lump sum topics. In terms of eligibility, of course, the same eligibility rules apply, which basically means you just have to provide a more detailed budget at proposal stage. And when it then comes to for the successful projects to actually enter into a grant agreement, then the costs will be paid in terms of a lump sum, and you don't have to do then a detailed justification of costs during the implementation phase. But in terms of the eligibility of costs, there's no change between a lump sum topic and other topics. In terms of small costs, expenditure related to projects which are not staff costs, the eligibility criteria are set out as well in the general annex of the work program, and one of the key requirements is that those costs have to be necessary for the implementation of the project, and those other costs very often relate to, for example, the demonstration validation activities. And so if it's necessary for you to demonstrate and validate the solution to have certain expenditure, then they would be eligible. So they can be included in the budget, but within the proposal, it's always useful to also then justify why a particular expenditure like this is actually needed.
Thank you. And Christoph, stay with me. On the topic 2, under Destination 3, social entrepreneurship call, does the call support the acquisition of spaces, office spaces, where the social business or businesses will be set up, or only the renting? If only renting, then how would one renovate according to NEB framework, NEB style, as the question says?
Okay, so under topic 2, maybe first what the focus of this topic is, which is that the various aspects of using bottom-up social entrepreneurship for the co-creation of neighborhoods. So this is the focus, that to understand basically how social entrepreneurship can contribute to co-creation in neighborhoods. And then those pilots, therefore, will have to explore how those social entrepreneurships can shape and contribute to the co-creation of neighborhoods. So the question was referring to the acquisition then to the renovation. I mean, the main focus of the social entrepreneurship was really the co-creation aspect. What I said earlier about the eligibility of costs will also apply here. So is it necessary for the implementation of this particular project, for this research and innovation work? And so you should also then provide the justification. And then when it comes to the specific aspect of the acquisition of office space, which could be understood as the purchase of office spaces, Horizon Europe states that eligible costs can include the purchase of equipment, of infrastructure, and other assets. But those costs can only be declared in form of depreciation. So, and that is based on the international accounting standards. So, and then depreciation only then relates to the time of actual use. So if you've got a 5-year project and for 1 year you basically use the office space, then you can basically claim the depreciation costs in relation to the time actually used in the project. And so if you want to see a little bit more about this, I guess for this very specific question, then please have a careful look at the Horizon Europe model grant agreement and also the annotated grant agreement, where you can see the specific definition of those costs and some additional explanations.
Thank you. And maybe a challenge for both of you with Sophia. So if not that only renting is possible, but in the case of renting, how would one renovate this space according to the NEB values and principles? I would say, from my standpoint of view, how I understand it, it's a part of the project design in general, but maybe we can offer some directions here.
Yeah, indeed. In line with what you said, Borut, how to demonstrate that the renovation follows a NEB style is, I would say, looking at how it integrates the three NEB values, which are embedded in the topics of the work program. So the three values being sustainability, inclusion, and aesthetics, and then how the renovation follows and integrates these three NEB values. Yeah.
Thanks.
This is one of the topics where we discussed it earlier, where there's a specific link to the NEB values within the requirements list. And so here we want projects to show us how the co-creation of neighborhoods is in line with the values of a European Bauhaus. And so I think here the methodology should demonstrate how the project would go about in order to ensure that there is this alignment with the three NEB values on the aspect of co-creation.
Mm-hmm. Understood. Thank you. Sophia, can you please explain better on top of what we already said about the common spaces? But the question goes like, can we explain better what we mean by common spaces? Does it refer to internal or external space, or to both? And if possible, to provide typical examples of common spaces to understand better what kind of renovations are sought after in this call, and it refers to the 01 topic under destination 3.
All right, thanks. So yeah, to start off with, again, I'd like to refer to the glossary where common spaces are defined. And as is written there, common spaces are to be understood as being brought into being through common practices, which are linked to physical, public, semi-public, or private places that are accessible by all and demarcated by the built environment, so which can facilitate or hinder social activities. So in that sense, if an internal or an external space fulfills this definition, so if it's demarcated by the built environment and as a place of social activities and is accessible by all, then the answer is yes, it could be considered a common space. And then regarding examples of common spaces, this is open to the applicants what types of common spaces they see as relevant to explore and include in the projects, depending on the proposals, as long as they fulfill this definition, which I just mentioned.
Okay, we stay at 01 topic, and the question is linked to the modular adaptation. So what do we mean by it? Does it refer to 3D modules or modular dimensioning of various building parts and products? Is it the same as adaptation by using various kinds of standardized building components? So yeah, what do we mean with modular adaptation and how it refers to different products mentioned in the question?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so to start off with, the overarching focus of the topic is this design for adaptability and disassembly, which I explained before, and this can be based on the use of modular construction components. So modular construction components, they refer to standardized, so as the person wrote, they can refer to standardized building components that can be easily rearranged, added, or removed from building spaces, infrastructures as their requirements evolve. So in that sense, modular adaptation and repurposing allows these buildings and spaces to be reused and repurposed thanks to the use of these modular construction components. And yeah, to summarize, it means that adapting in the modular context means taking existing modular units and adapting them, reassembling them for new uses, which can be in different contexts. So for example, taking a modular components from modular office building, dismantling them and reassembling them for other purposes, for housing, community centers, etc.
So would we have another question linked to this? Would you need to add something to what you already said? If somebody would ask you to clarify the role of modules in the renovation of existing buildings based on design for adaptability and disassembly.
Yeah, I think that's the response is the same as to the last question. So I wouldn't have anything more to add.
All right. And then we go back to Slido, and we also have a question there linked directly to the reassembly, assembly, and these expressions and what we mean. And the question goes, what is meant by reassembly for the topic 3 under destination 3, and what is the difference with recycling?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so what we mean with reassembly, so if we look at the circular, so the reverse construction supply chains, the different steps, it starts from the collection of used materials to they can be remanufactured, recycled, but they can also be reassembled. And in the context of this ties a bit to my answer to the previous question, in the context of this design for adaptability and disassembly and the use of modular components, it's the idea of taking modular components that have been disassembled from existing buildings and structures and how to put them together, add reapply them to new buildings, whereas recycling would be to reprocess these components into their more raw materials or substances, if I can put it like that. I hope this clarifies. You are muted, Borut.
It happened finally.
Yeah.
Apologies. For a bit of a different question here, for the 02 topic, can cities be a partner in the project?
Yeah, maybe
Yes.
Christoph, I'll hand this over to you.
Sure. Yes, they can be, as long as they fulfill the eligibility criteria.
All right. And then we go with the question I highlighted. So how binding is the aspect of modularity within the renovation of existing buildings? Does this mean that renovation must be based on modules, which themselves are supposed to be adaptable and fit for disassembly? So yeah, how strict is the topic in this regard, Sophia?
Yeah, this is a key element of the topic. So it refers, if we look at the topic text, it refers to the modular adaptation of buildings, common spaces, and infrastructure. So in that sense, and as I explained before, it is, a requirement for the projects to look at the renovation that uses modular components that then support this design for adaptability and disassembly. And yeah, in that sense, I mean, these modular components, they would have to be fit for adaptation and disassembly.
Okay. We move to the second call, so 02 for the social entrepreneurship. And the question is, could the 3 pilots be exploring and share the same value model for social economy in different countries participating in the project, or do they need to be different? So whether it would be the same value model across the locations, or should it be different? And the question here is either a focus on textile and fashion would be, well, there are 3 dots because there's a limitation to what you can ask, but I will try to finish the question. Would the focus on textile and fashion be admittable in this regard, if that can be commented, Sophia?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, in principle, the 3 pilots, they could share a same value model of social economy. as long as, again, there are minimum 3 bottom-up social entrepreneurship pilots and they are demonstrated in at least 3 different member states or associated countries. The important to note here is that, as the topic text describes, they should focus on the built environment. So if they might focus on textile and fashion. Fashion, I would tend to think that would be difficult to fit within the built environment of transformation neighborhoods, but if they contribute to the revitalization of the built environment in neighborhoods, as the topic describes, then yes, applicants are open to explore that.
Thank you. We have the next question also highlighted now. It focuses on topic 1. Can existing space in a building be renovated using recycled and reusable materials and by creating a model of premises reconstruction and making it suitable for cultural activities and be financed under this topic? So there's a very specific project of the reconstruction and adaptation, and the question is whether it fits here or not. I mean, it could be fitted here or not.
Yeah. I think there are different elements in this question. So, first of all, whether a space in a building could be renovated using recycled or reusable materials. So again, just to stress here that the focus of this topic is on using design for adaptability in this assembly, and in that sense, the modular adaptation for renovation. So that would be a minimum requirement, and whether the project then wants to also focus on whether it fits to look also at recycled materials, then proposals would be open to look at that. And then the second part of the question, whether they could make it suitable for cultural activities, and yes, there's no specific requirement towards this, so it's open if applicants would like to look at the renovation of this building for cultural purposes activities, then they are free to do so depending on their proposal. And
All right.
yeah, Christoph,
Very clear.
if you would like to complement anything.
Yeah. In case I may misinterpret the question, but just in case I don't, the topic is about developing innovative solutions related to the renovation process, methods, or techniques. And so costs related to that development can be covered within the Horizon Europe project. If the idea is that you would like to renovate a building and you would like to get it covered through this Horizon research program, that is unlikely to be supported. So the purpose of Horizon Europe projects is to fund the research, not to renovate buildings, even though we're talking about here the renovation or regeneration of neighborhoods and buildings. So it's a fine distinction. Therefore, experts will always carefully look at what is the research that you want to pursue and the costs that you're claiming under the proposed project, whether they're really necessary for the implementation and of that particular research.
Thank you. We have a next question, a bit shorter one, on topic 3. So is disassembly also in scope of this topic?
Yeah, so this topic focuses specifically on the reassembly stage. So here the requirement is to look at least one innovative approach, method, or technique for the reassembly of construction products that have already been reclaimed. Now, whether on top of that, whether projects would like to also look at the disassembly of the used reclaimed materials, then they are open to do so, but the focus here is on the reassembly stage specifically.
Super clear, thanks. I'll bring back the general question, but we'll go back to the peri-urban, semi-urban topic or questions around it. So a viewer is saying that also the limits of peri-urban and semi-urban are quite different across European national legislation. As evaluators, how will they specify the limits of semi-urban territories, by land usage or by buildings?
As this is an evaluation question, I would tend to ask for support here, Christoph.
Yeah. Okay, I understand that when it comes to definition of those different areas, if there is a clear definition within a particular member state, associated country where the or in a particular country where this demonstration takes place, well, then you can use that definition to justify also your choice of demonstration areas. I think that's absolutely valid because we've got experts from a diverse range of countries within our panels, but clearly we cannot cover all possible countries. So if there is a definition in your particular country and you base your selection on that existing definition, I think that is a very legitimate way of selecting your demo sites.
Thank you.
And I think it helps to justify that or to explain that within the application.
It goes for all topics under all destinations. We zoom out a bit and we go back to a general question, and this one is linked specifically to the success rate. As Vera explained in the beginning, the average success rate for the topics under NEB destination in last year was around 5%. Christoph, do you expect this percentage to increase, given that the NEB-related calls for proposals and available funding have increased?
I would be very glad if I would be able to answer that question. We would like to know that answer as well as an agency having to evaluate future calls. It's difficult to say. What we have seen more generally in Horizon Europe is in the last year that we had a high number of proposals in Horizon Europe in the area of energy broadly, which is an area that we're covering. What the situation will be for NEB specifically is really impossible to tell at this stage. I think the reason why we highlighted past calls is a bit of expectation management, because 5% is a relatively low success rate, because that means only 1 in 20 proposals can be funded. And we are aware that preparing a proposal is a big commitment in terms of time, resources, and money. And so therefore, if you're putting a proposal forward, that is a serious undertaking. Trying to have a go at it will not be leading to success. So that is really the message that we're trying to give, without being able to tell you what is the likely success rate in future calls.
Yes, unfortunately, we don't have that kind of forecasting capabilities. We'll see. Here at JRC, they're developing amazing things year on year, so maybe it's happening in the future. Anyway, back to the questions, back to why we are here. There's a question on topic number 2. So, Sophia, are there any expectations, and Christoph, are there any expectations about the level of maturity of pilot actions? So, in the scale of new projects versus more mature ones, is there anything to say on this?
So maybe I can start with this question. There is per se no specific requirement about the level of maturity that these pilots should have. So in principle, they could be completely new projects to be developed, pilots to be developed still, or also existing ones already. So the focus in this topic here is also to research what are the impacts that the pilots can have on neighborhoods, what are the incentives for them as well. So he is stressing this research and innovation aspect of it. And this topic also, as you might observe, it doesn't have a technology readiness level as topics in Destination 2 have, because it's not about the technical aspects in this topic. Yeah, it's more about analyzing the impacts and incentives. And in that sense, I would say this is open for applicants depending on their proposals. But Christoph, please, if you have anything to complement.
Yeah, I think there's a key word in there. I mean, to add what Sophia was just saying, which is apart from, you need to be able to be at a maturity level which allows you to do the analysis that was referred to within the call text. That's the one thing. And the other thing is that we're asking for the demonstration, to demonstrate how cooperation between public and civil society can happen, and also how to increase the quality of life and well-being, etc. And so demonstration suggests then also that it's not something that you kind of test theoretically, but it actually goes a step further to have an element of demonstration, so outward going, and not something that is being simply tested within the consortium. So if you look at, even though we haven't specified the tier levels, we had a similar question earlier. What is the difference between the tier levels and validation and demonstration? Demonstration is about going outwards and to demonstrate, what social entrepreneurship can do. And so far, you need to develop at a certain level to allow you to do the demonstration and the analysis, and therefore have the conclusion in the end in terms of the new scientific evidence of how entrepreneurship can contribute to NEB.
Thank you both. We answered this one. We have a question related to 01 topic. So for the applicant, is it possible to focus on buildings and infrastructure only and skip the common spaces, or must common spaces be included in the proposal?
Yeah, so if we look at the topic text, the requirement is to have at least 2 pilots in at least 2 member states or associate countries. At least one of the pilots has to target a building, and at least one of the pilot has to target a common space and or an infrastructure. So in that sense, yes, you could focus on a building and infrastructure only, given that the second pilot has to focus on an infrastructure and or a common space. So their applicants can choose.
Super clear. Thanks. This one is a bit of a, I don't know. Let's see if we can say something about it, because generally we don't comment on project ideas per se, right? There are other structures that support the future applicants in this. But here it goes. We want to regenerate a city-owned urban void in one of the most depressed neighborhoods by creating a circular economy hub that can contribute to the income of the resident population. Could creating a scalable modular structure that can be used for different purposes be a solution? And then I'm adding that would fit under any of the topics here. But please, Christoph, Sophia, if we can say something about it, okay. If not, we continue with other questions.
Yeah, indeed, this is a difficult question to address. I assume, because it refers to modular structure, I assume it's referring mostly to the first topic on design for adaptability and disassembly. However, this seems to be, more of a defined project idea already, so it's difficult for us to comment on it. But if applicants are able to tailor it to the specific requirements and focus of the first topic or any other relevant topics, it could be possible. But again, difficult to say at such a broad level.
Thank you. Okay, we are down to 9 minutes and we have 3 questions left. We also received the question in between whether the recording of the info day and the Q&A sessions will be available. Yes, and they will be available to everyone. We will publish the links to the recordings on our website under NEB Facility on as visible place as possible. So those that have not expressed interest in being reminded about the event, which means that we don't have your contact information, the website is one of the places to is the place where you should look for the recording, and the recording should be there in approximately 1 week at the latest after this event, so by next Wednesday. Going to the last 3 questions, again related to the topic 01. How can a common space construction in any country, how can be a common space construction in any country be a field of research or a problem in terms of project management when considering the consortium requirements? In other words, is it possible to justify a building in any country for the rest of consortium? I don't know, maybe it's just me reading out loud that I don't really get the question. But yeah, let's see what if you are better in this than I am. I mean, you for sure are. That's why you're answering the questions. But yeah, for this particular one.
Well, I'm guessing a little bit here, but so there's on one hand the requirement for that topic, which is to have at least 2 pilots in at least 2 member states or associated countries. So you can choose within those rounds where you want to have the your pilots. Then you've got the consortium, and then it might well be that some consortium members will come from entirely different countries to those where the pilots are located. That is fine as well. You know, it's a pan-European project, and that's the idea. And so I think now how you bring the 2 together is to carefully choose on one hand your demos, your pilot buildings or pilot sites. On the other hand, you want to have a consortium which brings together the right people in order to address the research that you want to address within your project. And of course, you need to take into account the location of the demo sites and then your consortium. So one particular challenge might be if you've got your consortium placed in a certain member states or associated countries and then the pilots in a different one. That will simply pose very practical issues or cause issues in terms of how to link to the local sites, etc. So therefore, the 2 things are indeed related. But I think we have been commenting a lot on choosing the demo site as well as choosing the consortium. And I think now this seems to be highlighting the issue, how to bring the 2 together. And again, that needs also careful consideration by the consortium.
Thank you, Christoph. Second to last question. Sophia, is involving urban, peri-urban and rural areas obligatory for all 3 calls or only for some under the destination 3?
Yeah, so I've touched upon this a bit before already. So just to remind again that all 3 destinations, they encourage projects to look across urban, peri-urban and rural areas. The 3 topics under destination 3, they don't, if we look at the topic text, none of them have a specific requirement for the project, the pilots to be in urban, peri-urban and rural areas. This is the case in some topics in destination 2. And when this is specifically written out in the topic text, then yes, pilots should be in each of these 3 areas. But in destination 3, that's not the case. Projects are encouraged to look at the three of them.
Thank you. And the last question for today is related to topic 01. And can a building be renovated by purchasing a renovation service that or services that use sustainable, reusable, and replicable materials? So basically, a project would buy. Well, would pay somebody to renovate a specific building, and if they can do that, and then this specific service is actually using sustainable approach to the renovation services. So by using reusable and replicable materials.
Maybe I'll make a start. Maybe I'll make a start there. So the research focus is here on developing renovation processes, methods, and or techniques. So this is what the research is about. It is possible within a project to subcontract certain tasks. Subcontract in Horizon Europe is understood as subcontracting what is core activities described in your program of work for your particular project. Yeah. Now that's possible, but because it's core of your project implementation, such subcontracting should be very limited, because we want the project to conduct the research and not a third-party subcontractor to conduct the research. So the consortium should conduct the innovative part, and then can use subcontracting to, in limited cases, to support that. On the other hand, if you're referring here to renovation of a building, which itself is not core part to testing your renovation process, method, or techniques. What I was saying earlier, we're not financing the renovation of buildings per se, we are financing the research. So in that case, you would have to justify whether actually the costs of renovating a building should be part of this project, or whether it actually should be financed outside of this project, because we will focus on the research, not on general renovation of buildings.
Yeah, thanks, Christoph. I think you answered that quite well already. And just to complement that, the focus here is not only so is the renovation based on design for disassembly and adaptability, whether this includes this might broadly include also the use of sustainable and reused recycled materials. But yeah, just to stress that the focus here is, as Christoph was saying, to develop at least 2 renovation process methods and techniques based on modular adaptation and disassembly.
Thank you very much, Christoph and Sophia, for delivering the questions, and Sophia also presentations on the Destination 3. With this, we reached the end of our info session. We have just 2 more pieces of information that we promised in the beginning. So also to mention that some of the questions remained unanswered because either we moved to another destination and didn't really want to backtrack, let's say from Destination 3 to Destination 1, or we ran out of time during the Q&A. So we will be we have all your questions. We will be providing the answers and then also publishing them on our website together with the recording, or after the recording, because the recording is actually easier and faster to upload than to provide written answers to so many questions that we received. So for those of you that don't have time to wait for us, also, there are 2 ways on how you can submit your questions, these ones or new ones, when you will be preparing your project applications, or you will need some support in developing project applications, to 2 services that we mentioned. One being research inquiry service for question about the Horizon Europe. Here is the link, here is the QR code. Both of these will be available together with the recording as soon as possible. And then the second support structure are NEB RNI national contact points, which you can find on the funding and tenders portal under the help desk and support national contact points for Horizon Europe. In cases where there is no NEB RNI contact point appointed, you can always write to the main coordination person of a specific national contact point configuration. You can, if you can see here, you can choose specific national contact point configuration, and European Bauhaus is under number 19, while the main coordination is usually on the top under number 1. And all the national contact point configurations have a contact point under the main coordinator, and in cases where they did not appoint a specific person for a specific configuration like NEB RNI, please contact the bosses of those Horizon Europe national contact point configurations. And also, we are continuously communicating not only about the NEB facility and opportunities related to NEB facility, but also all the other activities and actions that we do as the Commission, as well as a lot of activities that the NEB community members do. We are present on 4 different social media channels. We have a website, we have a monthly newsletter. Please do follow us on those that fit the most your style or what you use in terms of the social media. Consider joining the NEB community. Consider also subscribing for a monthly newsletter to really be in the loop of different information and to not miss any of the opportunities linked to European Bauhaus initiative in general. So as a closing remark, just one big thank you to all of the viewers, those of you who've endured through 3.5 hours of the info day, as well as to my colleagues who helped me deliver. Well, they delivered, I helped them to navigate through the agenda. One big thanks to all of us. We look forward to continue exchanging and discussing with you through different channels. Thank you for your interest in the European Bauhaus and also for all of your contributions to the realization and implementation of the NEB initiative. Take care, have a nice day, and see you at the next opportunity. Bye-bye.